When people want new leaders, again and again, have you ever felt tired of the same old thing, like a plan isn't working, or a project just feels stuck, and you just wish someone, anyone, would come along with a fresh idea, a new way to move forward? Here's the thing, this feeling isn't new. History shows us that people, across centuries, keep hoping for new leaders. That's a quiet whisper that echoes through time. Societies big and small often reach a point where they look at the person in charge, the group making decisions, and feel a deep need for change. Maybe promises were broken, maybe new challenges arrived, and current leaders seemed unable to cope. Or perhaps it's just a longing for a different kind of energy, a fresh voice that speaks to a new generation. Think about a sports team that's been struggling. The fans, the players, they all want to win. If the team keeps losing, people often start saying, "We need a new coach." It's not always that the old coach is bad, but there's a powerful human desire for a fresh start, a different strategy, someone new to inspire hope. This deep wish for a new direction shows up everywhere, from ancient empires where kings were overthrown to modern nations electing new presidents. People choose to replace their rulers, believing a new leader might bring better days, more fairness, or just a sense of peace, and that's why it matters. This constant pull towards new leadership tells us something important about us. It's a testament to our endless hope, our stubborn belief that things can always be better. It reminds us that change is a constant companion on humanity's journey, a silent promise that new beginnings are always possible. Even when the road feels long and uncertain, we keep searching, not just for a leader, but for a reflection of our own enduring hope. The way old empires look a lot like new ones. Have you ever noticed how powerful groups in history, like ancient empires, face the same challenges we see today? It's strange, but when you look closely, the way old empires grew strong and then fell feels a lot like what happens now, just on a different scale. Think about the Roman Empire. They built huge roads, made laws, had a strong army, and controlled vast lands. Their leaders wanted power and resources, but as they grew, problems started. It was hard to manage such a huge area. People far away felt less connected. New challenges always arose, like invaders or disagreements among their own leaders. Here's the thing, today, we don't often call them empires, but we still see powerful nations or giant companies trying to spread influence, control markets, or make their ideas global. They want to be strong, just like Rome. They aim for economic power or tech leadership, and like Rome, they struggle with keeping everyone united, managing resources, or dealing with rivals. Imagine a popular online game with a huge guild. They grow, conquer territory, become the strongest. Other guilds might fear them. But then, inside, members argue about sharing loot or who leads. Some players leave. New, strong rival guilds emerge. It's the same pattern: growth, power, internal arguments, and external challenge. Just a different game. It makes you think, doesn't it? Underneath all the different clothes and tech, the human desires for strength, security, and influence haven't really changed. And neither have the tough lessons about what happens when power gets too big, or isn't shared fairly. History whispers that some stories just keep playing out. Why big ideas sometimes get totally crushed. Have you ever had a really great idea? Something you just knew would make things better, but nobody listened. Or maybe they just flat out said no. It's a strange feeling, isn't it? Like a tiny seed of brilliance just got stepped on. History is full of moments where big, important ideas, ones that could have changed everything for good, got totally crushed. Not because they were bad, but because the world wasn't ready, or people were too comfortable. Sometimes, powerful voices just didn't want change, because it might mean losing their own power or influence. Think about it. For a long time, almost everyone believed the sun revolved around the earth. It just felt right, looking up. So, when people like Copernicus and Galileo suggested the earth actually revolved around the sun, many thought they were crazy. Their idea was huge, but it went against everything people had been taught for centuries. It threatened old ways of thinking, religious beliefs, and how scientists understood the universe. It took a long, hard fight for that truth to finally be accepted. Here's another example. Imagine doctors in hospitals. A long time ago, they didn't wash their hands much, and many patients got sick and died from infections. A brave doctor, Ignaz Semmelweis, saw this. He had a simple, brilliant idea. If doctors washed their hands, fewer patients would die. He showed it worked. But many older doctors hated his idea. They thought it insulted them, suggesting they were dirty. So, his life-saving idea was ignored, even ridiculed. For years, people clung to pride and old habits instead of embracing something that could save lives. It's a tough lesson. Sometimes, the biggest obstacles to a good idea aren't its flaws, but the walls we build in our minds. But here's the thing. Good ideas, truly powerful ones, often find their light eventually. It might take time, it might take new generations, but the truth, or a better way, often wins. It reminds us to keep an open mind, to question, and to listen, because sometimes a crushed idea holds the key to a better future. The endless search for something better. Have you ever looked at something you have, something good, and still felt a tiny tug inside, wondering if there's something more? Or maybe you just got what you wanted, but your mind already drifted to the next thing. Here's the thing. That feeling isn't new. It's actually a really old part of being human. It's this quiet hum deep down, this drive to always look beyond what's right in front of us. Don't think about it. Our ancestors didn't just stay in one place if the food ran out. They packed up and moved, searching for better hunting grounds, a safer cave, a warmer climate. They invented simple tools, then found ways to make them sharper, stronger, more useful. People didn't just accept the dark at night. They figured out fire, then candles, then light bulbs. Each step wasn't about being unhappy with what they had, but about seeing a possibility for something just a little bit better, a little more comfortable, a little more efficient. And this isn't just about big historical changes, it's in our daily lives too. Say you're playing a video game, you beat a tough level, and that feels good. But then, you quickly want to start the next one. You want to see what else is out there, how much further you can go, or how much faster you can get. It's that same engine, driving us forward. We look for a better way to study, a better shoe for sports, a clearer explanation for a tough concept. This constant search shapes everything. It's why societies change, why new ideas are always popping up. Sometimes, it can make us restless, always wanting what's next, and not fully appreciating what we have now. But it's also why we build amazing things, discover new medicines, and keep learning more about our world. So, it's a powerful part of who we are. Maybe the real trick is learning to appreciate the journey, even as that quiet voice keeps asking, what else? How money problems always come back around. Have you ever felt that sinking feeling, wondering if there's enough money for something you really need or want? This struggle is as old as history. Money problems, in some way, always seem to cycle back into our lives, much like the changing seasons or the ocean tides. Here's the thing, it's not just a modern problem. Look back, and ancient cities like Rome often struggled to feed everyone. Empires rose and fell, not just from battles, but because they couldn't handle their wealth or debt. Too much debt, not enough food, or the gap between rich and poor growing. These are old stories. Today, countries still wrestle with budgets. The basic worries about having enough, or sharing fairly, haven't changed much over thousands of years. Think about your own life, even with something small. Maybe you're saving your allowance for a cool new video game or concert. Some weeks, saving feels easy, but then, unexpected things pop up. A friend's gift, a school event, or your phone breaks. Suddenly, your planned savings feel tighter. You have to make choices. This little dance of having and needing is a mini version of what bigger societies go through. You build up resources, spend them, and then think about building them up again. It's a constant, personal cycle. So, this isn't just about numbers or big theories. It's about our dreams, our worries, and the quiet choices we make daily. Understanding that financial ups and downs are a natural, repeating part of human life gives us strength. It shows that while struggles feel new, the lessons are old. It teaches us to be thoughtful with what we have, to value things beyond their price, and to remember how we support each other when times get tough. When everyone gets really angry together, have you ever felt a wave of anger? Not just alone, but with a whole group of people around you. Maybe at an unfair call in a game, or when something clearly wrong happened at school. It's a powerful, almost electric feeling, when many hearts beat with the same hot emotion, especially anger. History shows us things can really shift. Think about it. One person angry is one person, but a whole city, a whole country, feeling that same burning frustration, that's when movements start. It's like a silent signal passing from one person to the next, saying, this isn't right. This shared anger, This collective rage has torn down walls and built new societies. Sometimes it leads to terrible destruction, acts we later regret. Other times, it pushes for changes that eventually make life better for everyone, like fighting for fairness or freedom. It's a double-edged sword, always. Imagine a group of friends watching a movie, and the bad guy keeps getting away with everything. At first, maybe one person sighs, then another grumbles. Soon, everyone is groaning, shouting at the screen. That shared feeling, that joint frustration, binds them together, even if it's just for a moment. It's like when one domino falls, and then another, and another, until a whole pattern is changed. In history, this feeling can spread like a wildfire, fueled by a deep sense of injustice or unfairness. So, when we see this anger boiling up in big groups, it makes us think. It reminds us that our feelings, especially strong ones, are important. They connect us, and these connections, when they get really intense, can show us where things are broken, where a path needs to be cleared for something new. It's a call to pay attention, not just to the anger itself, but to what lies underneath it, and what it might be trying to tell us about the world we live in. New inventions that scare people, just like old ones. Have you ever felt a little nervous about something totally new, like a new app, or a way of doing things that just came out? It's a common feeling, right? We often feel a shiver of worry when something unfamiliar appears. Here's the thing. People have always felt this way about new inventions. For centuries, when something truly new appeared, it often brought a wave of fear. Think about the first trains. Many thought they were dangerous monsters, too fast for the human body. Some believed traveling at such speeds would make people sick. And before that, when books were first printed, not by hand, some worried it would spread dangerous ideas too quickly. The world felt like it was changing too fast. It's a bit like trying a new video game or a new social media platform. At first, it feels strange. You might worry about how it works, what it means, or if it's safe. But after a while, you learn it, get used to it, and it just becomes part of your everyday life. We see this today with artificial intelligence, or AI. Some people feel that same shiver when they hear about AI writing stories or creating art. They wonder, what does this mean for us? Will it take our jobs, or change who we are? But here's what I found. This fear of the new is often just our minds trying to keep us safe from the unknown. It's our natural human reaction to big change. Every time we learn, we adapt. The scary new thing eventually becomes just a part of life. Understanding this pattern can help us face the future. And whatever new ideas come along, with a little less worry and a little more wonder, it reminds us that we are always learning, always growing, even when change feels a bit unsettling. Fashion trends that never truly die. Have you ever stopped to wonder why some clothes just seem to keep coming back? It's like they whisper secrets from the past, echoing through our stores and our closets, year after year. Fashion isn't always about something brand new. Sometimes, it's about an old idea finding a fresh breath of life. Styles might drift away for a while, but certain feelings, certain shapes, they just can't be forgotten. They don't return exactly the same, no, but the soul of the look, the core feeling, it always finds its way back. Here's the thing, why do we keep falling for these returning looks? Maybe it's a shared memory, deep down in our human story. What felt strong and practical for our great-grandparents often still feels comfortable and right for us today. What made someone feel brave, or beautiful, or even rebellious centuries ago, somehow still holds that quiet power. It's like we're unconsciously searching for pieces of ourselves, or fragments of timeless stories, woven into the fabric we choose to wear. Think about blue jeans, for example. They started as tough work pants, something for miners and farmers. Now, almost everyone owns a pair, or the simple, classic white t-shirt. It has been around forever. It changes its cut, a little, maybe a tighter fit, maybe a looser one, but the basic idea of a comfortable go-to top never truly dies. It's like a beloved melody. Different artists might sing it, adding their own touch, but the deep, familiar tune stays the same. This isn't just about clothes. It's about a part of human nature, a longing for things that feel true. And that's why it matters. These enduring trends gently remind us that even as the world spins faster, some things hold steady. They show us how we are all connected across the vast stretches of time, sharing an unspoken understanding of what feels good, what looks good, what just fits. It's a quiet comfort, knowing that some beauty, some essential style, truly never fades away. It makes you think, what echoes from your clothes today will still be heard in the fashion of tomorrow? The stories we tell ourselves about being heroes. Do you ever wonder why we love stories where someone saves the day, where there's a clear hero, standing tall against trouble? Here's the thing, we all want to be that hero, or at least see ourselves as the good person in our own life. This isn't just a simple wish, it's a deep human need. We build whole ideas around it, about who we are and why we do things. These are the stories we tell ourselves about being heroes, and sometimes about our group or country being the hero too. But history shows us something tricky. Every war, every conflict, has two sides. Each side often believes they are the heroes. They think they are fighting for what is right, for freedom, for justice. Think about old history books. They often painted one nation as brave and noble, while the other was seen as the enemy. This isn't always because one side was truly evil. It's because people need to believe in their cause. They need to justify their actions, sometimes even terrible ones, by framing them as heroic. This pattern repeats through time, like a song on a loop. Imagine you're arguing with a friend. You might feel totally justified in what you said or did. You might think, I was just trying to help, or I had to stand up for myself. Your friend, though, they probably feel the exact same way. They see themselves as the one who was wronged. Both of you are the heroes of your own version of that story, and that's why it matters. It shows how easily we can create a picture where we're always the good guy, even when things are messy. So, what does this tell us? It reminds us to look closer. When we hear stories, or even when we think about our own lives, it's important to ask, whose hero is this? Whose side are we really seeing? Maybe true courage isn't always about being the hero in a grand tale. Maybe it's about understanding that everyone has their own story, and sometimes the bravest thing we can do is try to see the world, not just from our own viewpoint, but from another person's too. This can help us understand why history repeats certain patterns, because our need to be the hero is powerful. Sickness that spreads, and what we learn or don't. Have you ever thought about how sickness seems to follow us, generation after generation? It's a strange, sad part of being human. From the Black Death, sweeping through Europe centuries ago, wiping out millions, to more recent global health scares, disease has always been a powerful, unwanted guest. It doesn't care about borders or who you are. It just moves, finding its way from person to person, town to town, across oceans, leaving sorrow in its wake. And here's the thing, each time, it brings not just physical pain, but a deep, quiet fear. This fear can change everything, how people act, how they trust each other, and even how whole societies are structured. It shows us how connected we truly are, but also how isolated we can become when danger looms close, making us question everything we thought we knew. Think about a common cold spreading through your classroom. One sniffle, then another, and soon half the class is coughing. You build up immunity to that specific cold, right? But then, a brand new one comes along next year, on a much bigger, more terrifying scale. That's how history repeats with major diseases. We learn to fight one. We develop medicines, vaccines, or better hygiene. But often, we forget the emotional lessons. We forget how important it is to work together, to care for the most vulnerable people, even when the immediate threat fades away. It's so easy to just go back to our own lives, forgetting the shared struggle and the promises we made to ourselves during the crisis. This can help you see that these aren't just stories from old textbooks. They are echoes, warnings, and quiet questions whispering through time. Each wave of sickness reminds us of our shared fragility, our shared humanity. It asks us if we will truly remember the hard-won lessons of kindness, science, and community, or if we will just wait for the next wave, surprised all over again, caught unprepared. The cycle keeps going, challenging us to truly understand, to truly grow, to truly remember the deep cost to mind and spirit, not just body. Building huge things, then watching them fall. Asterisk, asterisk, building huge things, then watching them fall. Asterisk, asterisk, have you ever looked at something so grand, so massive, that it felt like it would last forever? Think about those incredible structures people built long ago, pyramids piercing the sky, vast cities with thick walls seeming to defy time. There's a quiet wonder in their greatness, a testament to human spirit and effort. But here's the thing, building something huge, something seemingly unstoppable, can carry the seeds of its own end. It's a pattern whispered through history, a deep, emotional truth. Empires rise, growing vast and powerful. For a time, they shine, glorious and strong. But eventually, like a giant tree reaching too high, they begin to wither. A storm comes, and they slowly, inevitably, crumble. It might take centuries, or happen suddenly. Stones may remain, but spirit, power, and dream often fade. Imagine you spend an entire day at the beach, pouring all your energy into building the most amazing sandcastle. You dig deep moats, sculpt towering turrets, add tiny shell decorations. It's perfect, a masterpiece. You feel proud, creating something beautiful. But as the sun sets, or the tide rolls in, or even a careless step, that grand structure begins to dissolve. It's a little sad, isn't it? All that effort, now just wet sand. But here's what I found. The fall of the sandcastle, or the empire, isn't just an end. It's a reminder. It makes us think about what truly matters, beyond size or power. Everything changes, and even in loss, there can be beauty. Maybe the true lesson isn't in building what lasts forever, but in the effort, the creativity, and understanding that after something falls, new things can always begin. It's a quiet cycle, filled with sorrow and a strange, hopeful peace. Promises leaders make that sound familiar. Have you ever heard a promise that just felt familiar? Like an echo from a time you can't quite place, but the words themselves ring true, or maybe a little hollow. It's a strange feeling, isn't it? This isn't about judging the people who make these promises. It's about noticing a pattern in history. Don't think about it. Leaders, whether they were ancient emperors or recent presidents, often speak with a very similar voice when they want to inspire us. They talk about a new dawn, a better future, or a golden age just around the corner. They promise to make our lives safer, our communities stronger, and our worries fewer. They tell us they will fix what's broken, bring us together, and lead us to prosperity. These are powerful words, designed to stir hope in our hearts, and they have worked for thousands of years. Look back at old speeches, even from different countries or hundreds of years apart. You'll find leaders promising to build great things, to bring peace after conflict, or to make sure everyone has enough. It's like a script, passed down through the ages, with only the actors and the costumes changing. The basic human needs, safety, connection, a chance to thrive, stay the same. And so, the promises that appeal to those needs also stay remarkably similar. Here's the thing. Imagine a favorite video game company. Every year, they promise that the next update will fix all the bugs, add amazing new features, and make the game perfect. You get excited. You believe them. But then, when the update comes, it feels a lot like the last one, or the one before that. The promise of perfection keeps coming, even if it's never fully reached. So, why do these promises keep repeating? Maybe it's because we, as humans, never stop hoping for that better tomorrow. We always look for someone to guide us towards a brighter future. And leaders, in every age, rise to meet that deep, unchanging desire. It reminds us that while the world changes around us, the human heart, with its hopes and dreams, remains much the same. The same old arguments over who's in charge. Have you ever stopped to think why people, through all of history, keep fighting over who's in charge? It's like a story that never ends, just different people playing the same parts. From ancient kings to modern presidents, this struggle for power, for the top spot, feels like a deep part of us. It's about who gets to make the big decisions, who sets the rules, and whose ideas win out. And that's why it matters. Think about it. Thousands of years ago, groups of people argued over who would lead the hunt or manage their village. Later, big empires grew strong and then fell apart because different groups always fought over who would rule. Smart thinkers, like someone named Plato long ago, tried to figure out the best way to run a country, hoping to find a perfect leader. But even with all their wisdom, people still couldn't agree. This basic human desire to be in charge, to decide things, just keeps happening over and over through history. Here's what I found. Imagine your own friend group trying to pick a movie. Someone wants action, another wants comedy, and one person just wants to be the one who decides. The argument isn't always about the movie itself, is it? Sometimes, it's about whose opinion matters most, who feels heard, or who just wants to be the leader of the night. It's that tiny version of the bigger world, this constant push and pull, this ancient dance over who holds power, shows us something important about being human. We really want things to be orderly, but we also want the freedom to shape that order ourselves. Maybe the real lesson isn't about finding a perfect ruler, but understanding this deep human wanting It's a quiet truth that we're all trying to make our mark, to have our voice heard, even in the smallest ways, and that's a feeling we all share. Why people move to new places, always. Have you ever stopped to wonder why we, as humans, almost never just stay put? Think about it. From the very beginning of time, our story has been one of movement. It's like there's a quiet, deep pull inside us, a constant search for something more, something better. This isn't just about packing boxes and changing addresses. It's about a fundamental feeling, an ancient rhythm that beats within all of us. For thousands of years, our ancestors walked the earth. They followed the great herds of animals, searching for food. They moved when the seasons changed, seeking warmer lands or fresh water. They left places that became too dangerous, or where the land could no longer support them. They didn't just move, they migrated with a deep hope, a quiet, brave belief that new horizons held a promise for survival, for peace, for a better life. This desire to find a new home, to build something different, is etched into our very being. Here's the thing, this same powerful feeling lives in us today. It's like a plant, slowly but surely turning its leaves towards the sun, even if it has to grow through shadows first. The plant isn't being dramatic, it's simply reaching for what it needs to thrive. We are much the same. Maybe a family moves to a new city because a parent found a better job, hoping for more stability and opportunity. Maybe a person leaves a small town to go to a bigger school, dreaming of new ideas and different experiences. It can be scary, but it's often driven by the wish for more safety, more happiness, or a place where you truly feel you belong. This constant push, this internal compass pointing us toward new ground, is not a sign of restlessness. Instead, it's a quiet strength. It speaks to our incredible resilience. It's a testament to the human heart's enduring hope, its refusal to give up on the idea of a brighter tomorrow. It reminds us that even when things are difficult, we carry the potential for change and the courage to seek out new beginnings. It's part of what makes us who we are. When a new way of thinking challenges everything, have you ever thought something was true, absolutely true, then found out it wasn't? That feeling can shake you up. It's like the world tilts a little. Everything you thought was solid suddenly feels a bit wobbly. Here's the thing, history shows us this happens all the time. A new idea, a different way to see the world, comes along. It doesn't just add to what we know. It often crashes right into the old ideas, and that can feel uncomfortable. Imagine people long ago. For thousands of years, almost everyone believed the earth was the center of everything. The sun, the stars, they all went around us. It felt right, made sense with what they saw. But then, scientists like Copernicus and later Galileo started looking closer, thinking differently. They saw evidence that the earth actually orbited the sun. This wasn't just a science fact. It was a huge challenge to how people understood their place in the universe, even their religion. It felt like someone pulled the rug out from under them. It's kind of like if you've always believed a certain friend was completely honest, and then one day, you see them lie. It changes everything you thought about them. Your brain has to rearrange itself. That old idea about them being honest just doesn't fit anymore. It's tough, but it's also how we learn and grow. So here's what happened. When those big ideas changed, it felt scary. People resisted. But slowly, the new way of thinking took hold, because it explained things better. It opened up new questions, new discoveries, and that's why it matters. It reminds us that our understanding is always growing, always shifting. Being open to a new idea, even if it feels strange or wrong at first, is a really powerful thing. It's how we move forward, how we truly see more of the world. The rich getting richer. Again, do you ever wonder why it seems some people always have more, and keep getting more? It's a pattern as old as human history itself, a cycle that spins through time, repeating over and over. Here's the thing, when you already have something valuable, like land, money, or even powerful friends, it often creates opportunities to get even more. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. It starts small, but with each turn, it gathers more snow, growing larger and heavier. This makes it even easier to collect more snow. Don't think about ancient societies. If you owned fertile land, you could grow food, sell it, and then buy even more land, or hire people to work it. Your wealth grew. Those without land struggled. Or, in later times, a merchant who already had ships could trade more goods, make more profit, and then build more ships. They had a head start, which helped them pull ahead. It's not about being bad, it's just how early advantages grow. Imagine you're saving up for something big, like a new game console. If you already have some money saved, maybe from an earlier birthday, you can put it into a high-interest savings account. That initial bit of money starts earning more money, all by itself. Someone starting with nothing has to earn every single dollar directly. The person with the initial savings gets a little boost, a quiet helper working in the background. This pattern, the way wealth and power can gather around those who already possess it, isn't a judgment. It's just a way the world often works. It makes us think about what a fair start really looks like, and how advantages can shape the present. It reminds us to notice these quiet currents in history and in our own lives, and to consider how we might build systems where more people have a chance to build their own snowballs. What happens when people don't listen to scientists? Have you ever had that feeling, like deep down you know something bad is coming, but no one else seems to notice? Or maybe someone warns you, clearly and calmly, but their words just don't stick. This isn't just a feeling, it's a pattern etched into history, a quiet sadness. It's what happens when we, as a society, choose to look away when brilliant minds offer a glimpse of what's ahead. Scientists, by their very nature, are often like the world's most diligent detectives. They gather clues, study patterns, and use incredible knowledge to understand how things work, and sometimes how they might break. They're not guessing, they're piecing together puzzles with evidence. But here's the thing, their warnings, no matter how carefully researched, only matter if people listen. If those in power, or even everyday folks, decide that convenience or old habits are more important than cold, hard facts, then the path forward can become incredibly difficult. Think about an architect. She spends years learning how buildings stand strong. She inspects a building, sees cracks, and uses her science to explain why it's dangerous. She says, "This wall needs fixing, or it could fall." But if people ignore her, maybe because it costs too much, or they just don't believe her, what happens? The wall eventually crumbles, not because the architect was wrong, but because her knowledge was set aside. It's a heavy thought, knowing that often pain and loss could have been avoided if only the clear, reasoned voices of science had been heard. It's a profound responsibility, knowing that the future often whispers its problems to us, and we have the choice to listen, or to let those whispers fade into sorrow. The cycle of war and trying to make peace. Have you ever wondered why, after so much fighting, people try so hard to make peace, only for new conflicts to rise up later? It feels like a loop, right? Here's the thing, human history shows us a pattern. Societies clash, wars tear lives apart. Then, from that pain, people desperately build bridges. They sign treaties, talk, and forgive. They hope for quiet, for calm. But after a while, tensions build, old wounds resurface, or new disagreements spark. The cycle can begin again. It's like the world holds its breath, then lets it out, only to hold it again. This isn't new. Ancient empires faced this. Families in old stories, too. Humans have always had this challenge. We truly long for peace, but reasons for conflict, power, land, different beliefs, or just not understanding each other, are deeply rooted. It's a constant struggle between our desire for harmony and what pulls us apart. We keep learning, but sometimes we forget important lessons. It's a bit like a big argument with a friend or sibling. You say hurtful things. It feels awful. Then, after some time, one of you reaches out. You talk, apologize, and make up. There's relief. You promise it won't happen again. But then, months later, you might disagree over something small. Old feelings bubble up. Suddenly, you're back in a similar argument. Maybe not as bad, but the tension is there. It shows how hard it is to break patterns, even when you really want to, and that's why it matters. This journey, from the sorrow of war to the fragile hope of peace, is part of being human. It teaches us that peace isn't just an endpoint. It's a continuous, difficult effort. It's a promise we keep making, trying to build a world where the quiet lasts longer than the storm. It makes you wonder if someday we can truly break free, not from fighting, but from the reasons we start fighting. How art changes, but kind of stays the same. Have you ever looked at really old art, maybe a painting from hundreds of years ago, and felt something, like a quiet connection to a person you'll never meet? Here's the thing, art changes a lot over time. The styles shift, the colors get bolder or softer. The tools artists use are totally different now. Think about a dusty, ancient sculpture versus a bright, digital piece you see on a screen. They look so incredibly unalike. But here's what's truly amazing. Deep down, art stays the same in the most important ways. For thousands of years, humans have used art to show their feelings, to tell stories, and to ask big questions about life. That hasn't changed. From cave paintings showing hunts and animal spirits, to the intricate designs on a medieval cathedral, to a modern protest poster on a city wall, they all try to capture something true about being human. It's a bit like music. If you listen to an old folk song from way back, then a classical piece, then your favorite pop hit today, they sound incredibly different, right? Different instruments, different beats, different voices. But what do they all do? They make you feel something. Joy, sadness, excitement, a deep sense of understanding. The sound changes, the instruments change, but the way music reaches inside and touches your heart, that doesn't really. So, even when art gets new looks and new ways of being made, it's still doing the same crucial work. It's still a kind of mirror, showing us our hopes, our fears, our dreams, and our endless wonder. And that's why it matters so much. It reminds us that across all of time, humans are more alike than different, sharing the same big, complex heart. Trying to control nature and how it pushes back. Isn't it a strange feeling, how much we want to be in charge? We look at the wild world and sometimes think, I can fix this. I can make it do what I want. This isn't a new idea. For thousands of years, people have tried to boss nature around. Think about huge rivers. Civilizations built massive dams, trying to stop floods, to hold back endless water. They wanted the river to flow where they decided to create new land. And for a while, it might work. It feels like a big win. But nature has its own deep, slow heartbeat. Here's what often happens. The earth reminds us who's truly in control. A dam might crack during a huge storm, or a river, blocked in one spot, will simply carve a new path somewhere else, sometimes with devastating force. It's like trying to hold your breath for too long. Your body demands to breathe. It's not just about rivers, though. We build houses on the edges of cliffs, where the ocean slowly eats the land. We build cities in places that flood often. We try to stop wildfires with lines cut into forests, but the wind can carry a spark right over them, showing how small our lines truly are. Here's the thing. Nature isn't trying to be mean. It's just being itself. It has patterns, rhythms, and an incredible power that's always moving, always changing. When we push too hard against it, when we ignore its quiet warnings, it often pushes back, not out of anger, but simply because that's its truth. Maybe the real lesson isn't about winning, but about listening. It's about understanding that some forces are bigger than us, and finding a way to live with them, in harmony, instead of always trying to make them bend to our will. It's a deep, soft echo across history, a quiet wisdom whispered from the earth itself. When a small group holds all the power, have you ever stopped to wonder what happens when only a few voices get to decide everything? Imagine a world where a tiny handful of people hold all the important cards. This isn't just a story from a fantasy book. It's a pattern history shows us again and again. Here's the thing. Sometimes, a very small group gets to control all the big stuff. The money, the rules, even what's considered right or wrong. We've seen it through time. Think about ancient empires, where one emperor and a few trusted advisors called all the shots. Or powerful families in the past who owned most of the land and wealth. The rest of the people, their thoughts and feelings, often got pushed aside. It's not always about being evil. Sometimes, it's just how things get set up, and it can leave a lot of people feeling unheard, like they don't matter much at all. This kind of situation can feel a bit like being in a school group project where only one or two people do all the talking and make all the choices. You might have great ideas, but if the louder voices drown yours out, those ideas never see the light of day, and that's why it matters. When power is concentrated in just a few hands, it's easy for the needs of the many to be overlooked, for different ways of thinking to be ignored. It can lead to unfairness or decisions that only benefit that small group. So, when we look back at history and see this happen, it makes us think, what opportunities are lost when so many brilliant minds aren't given a chance to shine? What kind of world do we build when only a few perspectives shape it? It's a quiet reminder that listening to all voices, making space for everyone, might just be the most important thing we can do for a fair and thoughtful future. We all have something to say, something valuable to add. The price of progress, then and now. Have you ever stopped to wonder what we lose when we gain something new? It's a strange thought, but it's true for everything, especially for how humans have moved forward over time. We call it progress, new inventions, better ways to live, faster travel. All of it sounds good, right? But here's the thing. Progress almost always comes with a cost. It demands something in return. Think about the past. When people started building big cities, they got protection and new kinds of work. But they also left behind open spaces and a connection to nature. When factories first popped up, making goods faster and cheaper, life changed for everyone. People got more stuff, but they also worked long, hard hours in unhealthy places, and the air grew thick with smoke. Those changes, good and bad, shaped entire generations. They felt the push and pull of moving ahead. It's a bit like when you want a really cool new video game. You save up, you get it, and for a while, it's amazing. But maybe you stop playing outside as much, or you spend less time talking face to face with your friends. You gain something fun, but you might lose a little bit of something else that was also good for you. So, when we look at the world today, with all its incredible technology and advancements, we have to ask ourselves, what is the true price of all this newness? What are we giving up for faster communication, or easier ways to get around? Sometimes it's our quiet time, sometimes it's the natural world around us, and sometimes it's even a piece of our old ways of simply being human. It's not about stopping progress, but about understanding its full story, the parts that shine and the shadows it casts. We have to be aware of what we trade to move forward. Why we keep falling for the same scams. Have you ever wondered why? Even with all our knowledge, people still fall for the same old tricks. History shows us old cons, just dressed in new ways. You see a message promising free things, or an email asking for your password, and part of you knows it's a scam. But then, a quiet thought asks, what if it's real? Here's the thing. Old scams work because they connect to something deep inside us. They don't just trick our minds, they reach for our hopes, fears, and dreams. Long ago, people bought fake magic potions, hoping to escape death. Today, someone might promise instant fame or an easy, perfect life. The details change, but the target feeling is always the same, a deep wish for better, easier, or to avoid trouble. Imagine you're really hungry. If someone offers a perfect-looking snack, even if it seems too good, your hunger makes you want to believe. Your brain, trying to help, sees a reward and sometimes moves too fast. Our ancestors had to be quick to spot chances to survive. That same quickness can be tricked. It's not a flaw, just how our minds work. We want to believe good news, easy solutions, and that's why it matters. It's not about being foolish, it's about being human, with all our hopes and weak spots. The quiet wisdom is understanding ourselves, our dreams, our longing, our fears. This can be our greatest shield. Knowing what our heart truly seeks helps us see when someone tries to use that need. It's a quiet reminder to pause, feel, and think before reaching for something too good to be true. How technology makes things easier, but also harder. Have you ever wondered why? Even with all our amazing gadgets, life can still feel so complicated. We invent incredible things to make our lives simpler, to take away the hard parts, and for a moment, they do. But here's the thing about technology. It often solves old problems by introducing new ones we didn't even know we had. It's a pattern as old as people making tools. Think about the first humans who figured out how to control fire. Fire kept them warm through cold nights and cooked their food, making it safer to eat. This can help you survive. But fire also needed constant watching. It could burn out of control, destroying everything. It brought immense power and comfort, but also a new kind of worry, a constant responsibility. This isn't just an old story, it's how we still live. Look at your own smartphone. This can help you connect with friends across town or across the world in an instant. It gives you all the world's information right in your pocket. That sounds wonderfully easy, right? But here's the problem. That constant connection can also make it harder to truly focus on one thing. It can make you feel like you're missing out if you're not always checking. It makes reaching out effortless, but often makes truly disconnecting feel almost impossible. The very thing designed to bring us closer can sometimes make us feel more alone, trapped in a digital bubble. So, we keep building, keep inventing, always reaching for the next big fix. And that's why it matters to remember that every step forward comes with a shadow. Every new convenience asks us to think deeply about its true cost. It asks us to be wise, to look beyond the immediate ease, and consider the new kinds of struggles it might quietly bring into our lives. The echo of old protests in today's streets. Have you ever seen pictures of protests from long ago, maybe in history class, and then noticed something similar happening in your town or on the news? Today, it's a strange feeling, like time is bending, bringing old struggles into new light. Here's the thing, history isn't just stories locked in books. It's also a powerful echo, a feeling that returns. The issues people care about might shift, but the deep human need to speak out, to gather, to demand fairness, that stays the same. People want to be heard. They want to fix what they see as wrong. Think about people hundreds of years ago, even in ancient cities. When they felt unfairly treated, they found ways to show their anger or hope. Maybe they just talked loudly, or gathered to make their voices stronger. Later, people marched for freedom, for civil rights, for fair wages. The reasons changed, from needing food to asking for equal rights. But the core human instinct to object never disappears. It's a deeply human part of us. This might work for you. Imagine you toss a stone into a calm pond. Ripples spread out. They hit the edge, then bounce back, sometimes crossing other ripples. The original splash is gone, but its energy, the pattern it created, keeps moving. Protests are like those ripples. The splash of people wanting change creates waves that keep spreading, sometimes coming back years later, shaped by new faces and new reasons. So, when we see people standing up today, it's not always a brand new idea. It's often an echo, a memory of all those who stood up before. It shows us that certain feelings, the fight for justice, the call for kindness, the hunger for what's right, are woven into who we are. It reminds us that our voices are part of a very old, very strong chorus, and that's why it matters. When good intentions go sideways, have you ever tried to help someone, really tried your best, only to find you somehow made things worse? It's a strange, sometimes sad, feeling. History shows us this happens a lot. People, leaders, even whole countries, start with a clear heart, wanting to fix a problem, to make things better for everyone. But then, without meaning to, their actions create new problems, sometimes bigger ones. It's like a ripple effect you didn't see coming. Here's the thing, many times in history, grand plans to solve one issue ended up causing many more. It's not because people were evil or wanted to cause harm. Quite the opposite. They genuinely believed they were doing the right thing. But the world is complicated, and actions have consequences that are hard to predict. Think about it. Long ago, people in Australia had a big problem with beetles eating their sugarcane crops. So, in the 1930s, someone had a good idea. They brought in cane toads from other countries, thinking these toads would eat the beetles and save the crops. Sounds smart, right? But here's what happened. The toads didn't really like the beetles, and what they did like was eating almost everything else. Native insects, small animals, even pet food. They multiplied super fast, and because they were poisonous, they killed off many of Australia's own creatures who tried to eat them. Now, cane toads are a huge problem themselves, way worse than the beetles ever were. It's a tough lesson. Doing good isn't just about wanting to do good. It's also about understanding the whole picture, trying to imagine every possible outcome, even the bad ones. Sometimes, the path to what we think is a solution can lead us somewhere completely different, somewhere we never intended to go. It reminds us to be careful, to be humble, and to always keep learning about how the world truly works, before we try to change it. Why some people always want more land. Have you ever wondered why? Through history, people and nations always seemed to want more land. It's a question that whispers through the ages, a desire so strong it's shaped our world, sometimes for good, often for worse. Here's the thing, land isn't just dirt and trees. It's a promise, a symbol, and a tool. Think about it like this. If you have more land, you have more space to grow food, which means more food for your family or your people. More land also means more resources, like wood, water, or minerals. It means a safer place, a buffer zone against those who might wish you harm. Controlling more land, then and now, often meant more power, wealth, and security. It was about survival, yes, but also something deeper, a feeling of safety, of having enough, or a desire to leave a lasting mark. It's a bit like when you're building something with LED. You start with a small base, right? But then you see all the cool things you could add, all the towers and extra rooms. You realize if you just had more bricks, more space, you could build something bigger, more impressive. That feeling, that itch for more, it's a tiny echo of the larger human impulse. It's not just about greed, though that can be part of it. Sometimes it's about fear of not having enough, or the dream of protecting what you have by making it bigger. But here's what I found. This hunger for more space, it can become an endless chase. When does enough truly become enough? History shows us that this constant expansion, this reach for another horizon, often comes with a heavy price. It's a reminder that sometimes the greatest peace isn't found in owning more, but in understanding what truly makes a place home, and what truly makes a life rich, beyond just the ground we stand on. The comeback of old ideas, good or bad. Have you ever noticed how some things just keep coming back, like a half-forgotten melody you hear again, or a style of clothing that was cool ages ago, and now feels new again? This isn't just about fashion or music. It happens with ideas, too. Deep, powerful ways of thinking, beliefs about how the world works, or even how we should live our lives. These ideas might seem to vanish, fading into history's shadows. But then, almost mysteriously, they reappear. Sometimes they return stronger, wiser, having been shaped by time and new understanding. Other times, they bring back the same problems, the same pain that they caused long ago. Here's the silent truth. People don't change as much as we sometimes think. The core questions that stir our hearts about fairness, about leadership, about what makes a good life, these are the same questions humanity has wrestled with for thousands of years. Ancient philosophers in bustling cities like Athens and Rome debated justice, freedom, and the purpose of government. Their words might have been tucked away in dusty books for centuries, yet new generations, facing similar challenges, often find themselves searching for answers in those very same old ideas. It's like we keep rediscovering lessons our ancestors painstakingly learned, sometimes forgetting they already knew. Think about our understanding of the mind. For centuries, people knew that quiet reflection and understanding your own thoughts were important. Then, for a while, modern life got so busy, so fast, that slowing down felt old-fashioned. But now, practices like mindfulness, which are ancient ways of paying attention, are everywhere. Schools teach it, apps help us practice it. It's an old idea, once seen as spiritual or strange, now understood as a powerful tool for calm in our everyday, complex world. It came back because its truth, its simple goodness, never truly died. This gentle cycle tells us something profound. Our journey through time isn't just a straight line forward. We constantly weave through the echoes of the past, carrying its forgotten wisdom and its painful mistakes into the present. It makes you wonder what ideas we're overlooking today that future generations will lovingly uncover. Trying to learn the lesson better this time. It's a quiet whisper that our current choices are often conversations with history, a chance to understand deeply, and perhaps, finally, to heal. Learning from mistakes, or not really. Have you ever felt like you're stuck in a loop, doing the same thing wrong even when you know better? It's a strange feeling, that pull to repeat a pattern, even after it's caused trouble before. This isn't just about daily sleep. This is about when history, on a grand scale, seems to forget its own hard-won lessons. It's like the world itself has a memory, but sometimes chooses to ignore it. Here's the thing. We often look back at ancient empires or past societies and wonder, how could they not see what was coming? They made decisions that led to their downfall, endless wars, unfairness, ignoring the environment, or letting division tear them apart. We read and learn about it, even feeling a pang of sadness or frustration for them. But then, similar challenges appear again. People argue over the same things. Powerful groups make choices that hurt many, and the warnings from the past whisper, sometimes unheard. Think about a common science experiment in school. You try one method, and it doesn't work out as planned. You write down what went wrong. A good scientist doesn't just try the exact same method again and again, expecting a different result. That would be frustrating. Instead, they adjust, change a variable, or try a totally new approach. Our brains are amazing at learning, making connections, telling us, hey, this path didn't lead anywhere good last time. But sometimes, for reasons woven deep into human nature, we find ourselves walking that familiar rocky path anyway. So, the quiet question remains, is our inability to learn from our past a part of who we are, or is it a challenge, asking us to be more mindful, more reflective? It's not always about knowing what happened, but understanding why it matters, and finding the courage to choose a different way forward. Maybe, just maybe, The power to break the cycle rests with us, right now. How fear makes people do strange things. Have you ever wondered why we sometimes act in ways that don't quite feel like us? What happens when a deep, cold fear takes hold? It's a powerful feeling, one of the oldest emotions we have. Fear is like an alarm inside our minds, meant to keep us safe. It tells us to run, to fight, or sometimes, just to freeze. But here's the thing, this same survival instinct can make people do odd, even hurtful things. Throughout history, fear has often clouded good judgment. Think about times when groups of people became scared of something they didn't understand. In the past, people sometimes blamed illnesses or bad luck on witches or evil spirits. They were so afraid of the unknown, of losing control, that they turned on their neighbors. It wasn't about logic. It was about a primal terror trying to find a target. The fear wasn't imaginary, but the enemy often was. Here's an example. Imagine you're walking home alone at night, and a dark shadow on the ground suddenly looks like a monster. Your heart races, your breath catches, you might even take a detour or run. Then, as you get closer, you realize it's just a tree's shadow, twisted by the streetlights. Your mind, gripped by fear, played a trick on you. It made a simple shadow into something terrifying. It's a reminder that fear can twist what we see and what we believe. It can make a single person, or even a whole society, react with panic instead of thought. So, perhaps the real lesson isn't to be fearless, but to understand what fear does to us. By seeing its power, we can learn to pause, to breathe, and to remember that often the monster is just a shadow, waiting for us to shine a little light on it. And that's how we find our way back to being ourselves. The rise and fall of popular music styles. Have you ever stopped to think about the music that fills our world? One year, a certain sound is everywhere, on every radio, in every earbud. Then, almost like magic, it slowly fades. Another style rises up, takes its place, and becomes the new beat of our lives. It's a cycle that plays out again and again, like waves hitting the shore. Here's the thing. This isn't just about what's cool or what's not. It's deeper than that. Each music style, whether it was rock and roll in the 50s, disco in the 70s, or hip-hop in the 90s, held a mirror up to the world. It showed what people were feeling, hoping for, or struggling with. The songs became the soundtrack to their shared experiences, their joys, or even quiet sadness. Think about your own favorite hoodie. Maybe it was popular last year. Everyone had one. Now, maybe it's still comfortable, but not quite the must-have item anymore. Music works a lot like that. What was once the freshest sound can eventually become something we look back on with a mix of nostalgia and humor. But even as new styles arrive, the older ones don't truly vanish. They often just rest, waiting. Sometimes, parts of an old sound get woven into new songs, creating something fresh yet familiar. And this teaches us something important. It reminds us that change is always happening. It's a part of life, moving forward. But it also shows us that the feelings and stories music carries are timeless. Even when the beats and melodies change, the human feelings behind the song stay the same. The echo of those past emotions, wrapped in different sounds, still touches us through the years. It's a beautiful way history reminds us we're connected through every changing rhythm. Why leaders love big building projects. Have you ever looked at a towering skyscraper, or seen pictures of the ancient pyramids, and wondered why someone decided to build something so impossibly huge? It takes so much time, effort, and resources, and often, the lives of many people. But here's the thing, leaders throughout history, from ancient pharaohs to modern presidents, have always been drawn to these giant projects. They understand something deep about what makes people feel awe and wonder. When a leader builds a magnificent palace, or an emperor orders a massive wall, it's rarely just about a practical need. These buildings are silent stories, designed to speak volumes. They declare power, for sure. A leader who can command thousands of people and shape the earth shows everyone how strong they are. But it's more than just power. It's about leaving a mark, a footprint on time itself that says, I was here. People want to be remembered. When you build something huge, something that lasts for hundreds or even thousands of years, your name and your legacy can live on. It's like building the most incredible sandcastle on the beach. You want everyone to see it, admire it, and for it to stay as long as possible, showing what you created. These grand constructions also give people a shared sense of purpose, a common goal to work towards. Working together on something so massive, whether it's a modern bridge or an ancient temple, can make communities feel like they're part of something much bigger than their individual lives. It creates a feeling of unity, of shared identity, even if the leader's main goal is their own glory. So, these projects aren't just stone and steel. They are physical expressions of human ambition, of hopes and dreams, and the deep, often unspoken, desire to create something that whispers across centuries. They remind us that we were here, and we mattered, trying to etch a quiet hope for forever into the very landscape. The push for freedom, no matter the cost. Have you ever felt trapped, like you just wanted to break free from something holding you back? That deep human wish, that powerful urge to be truly free, is a story that repeats again and again through time. It's about more than just wanting a day off school. It's about a fundamental human longing to choose your own path, to speak your own mind, to live without unfair rules or control. History shows us people, everywhere, have felt this pull. And here's the thing, they've often been willing to pay a heavy price for it. Across centuries, people have stood up against kings, empires, and unfair systems. They faced danger, poverty, even death, just for the chance to be free. The American Revolution, for instance, wasn't just about taxes. It was about colonists wanting to govern themselves, to have a voice. Later, the civil rights movement in America saw people like Martin Luther King, Jr., and so many others risking everything to gain equal rights and basic dignity. They knew freedom wasn't just given, it had to be earned, often with immense struggle. It's kind of like a tiny seed pushing through hard ground. The soil is heavy, maybe even rocky, but the seed has this internal energy, this natural drive to grow upwards, towards the sunlight. It doesn't stop, even when it's hard. It just keeps pushing. That's how the human spirit works when it comes to freedom. There's an inner strength that just won't give up. So, when we look back, we see this brave, enduring pattern. People fighting for their voices to be heard, for their right to live with respect. It reminds us that freedom isn't a gift we always get easily. It's a precious thing, often won by those who refuse to be held down. And that's why it matters. This deep longing for freedom, it's part of what makes us human, a constant echo through time. When rumors spread like wildfire, have you ever noticed how quickly a story, even one that isn't quite true, can fly around school, like a whisper starting in one corner, then suddenly everyone knows it, and it feels real? That's kind of how rumors work, and it's something history has shown us again and again. A small spark of information, maybe misunderstood or just made up, catches fire, and before you know it, it's a huge blaze, burning through communities, leaving confusion and sometimes real damage in its wake. Think about ancient towns, where news traveled by word of mouth. One person hears something, tells another, and it changes a little each time. Like a game of telephone, people start believing things that were never true, and these beliefs can shape big events. Wars have started because of mistaken reports. Whole groups of people have been unfairly judged because of things said without proof. Here's the thing, our need to understand, to make sense of the world, can sometimes make us believe the easiest story, not always the true one. It's like when a funny photo or a shocking video gets shared online. One person sees it, thinks it's wild, and posts it. Then their friends see it and share it too. It gathers likes, comments, and suddenly, it's everywhere. But maybe that photo was taken out of context, or the video was edited to look different. The truth, the original meaning, gets lost in all that sharing. It's hard to stop once it's out there, and that's why it matters. Our words carry weight, even whispers. When we hear something, especially something dramatic, it's a quiet challenge, to pause, to think, to wonder if it's truly sound. Because history reminds us that easy beliefs can lead to heavy consequences. There's a quiet strength in choosing to seek understanding, in waiting for the truth to reveal itself, rather than letting a spark become an uncontrollable fire. The search for who to blame. Have you ever wondered why, when something bad happens, our first instinct isn't to fix it, but to find someone to blame? It's a powerful, almost automatic human reaction. When a big plan goes wrong, or a difficult problem pops up, it feels easier to point a finger. We search for a single person, or a small group, to hold responsible. This can help you feel like there's a clear reason, even if the real causes are much bigger and messier, hidden just out of sight. It gives us a false sense of comfort, a quick answer to a tough question. And here's the thing, history shows us this pattern again and again, echoing through time. For centuries, when societies faced famines, wars, or plagues, leaders sometimes looked for a convenient scapegoat. They'd blame outsiders, or a specific group, for problems that were actually very complex. This allowed them to avoid hard questions about how things truly went wrong within their own systems. It made people feel like if they just got rid of the bad person, everything would get better. But here's the problem: it rarely ever did. Instead, it often led to more division and greater pain. Generations carried these old wounds. Think about it like this. Imagine your school's soccer team loses a really important game. It's so easy to say, it was totally the goalie's fault, or the coach made a terrible call. That might feel satisfying for a moment, but what if the loss was really due to a mix of many things? Maybe the whole team didn't practice enough, or the strategy wasn't quite right, or even the weather played a big part. If you just blame one person, you miss the chance to truly understand all the moving parts and improve for next time. As a team, the search for who to blame often stops us from looking deeper, from truly learning. It keeps us from asking important questions like, what were all the causes leading up to this? And how can we prevent this from happening again? Real progress, in our own lives and in history, comes not from finding a single culprit to punish. Instead, it comes from honestly understanding the many threads that weave together to create a problem. It's about facing the truth, learning from it, and finding a better way forward. And that's why it matters. Old diseases, new worries. Have you ever wondered if some scary stories from history just vanish, or do they sometimes come back, wearing a slightly different mask? Here's the thing about sickness: it doesn't always go away forever. It's a strange part of how history repeats itself, not with kings and queens, but with invisible enemies. For thousands of years, humans have faced diseases that sweep through towns, making people ill. The fear, the mystery, the way communities struggled, that feeling isn't new. Think about the bubonic plague, for example. It sounds like something from a dusty old textbook, right? A problem solved a long, long time ago. But the bacteria that caused it still exist. We have better medicines now, sure, but the idea of a sickness spreading, the feeling of helplessness, the worry about loved ones, that part never truly leaves us. It's like when you're playing a video game and you defeat a monster. You think it's gone for good, but then, in a later level, a bigger, stronger version of that same monster appears. It looks a little different, maybe has some new powers, but it's fundamentally the same challenge you faced before. Old diseases can do that. Viruses and bacteria change over time, just like the monster gets an update. They evolve, finding new ways to trick our bodies, sometimes even ignoring the medicines that used to work. This isn't about scaring us. It's about seeing that our health, our well-being, is connected to the past. The way people reacted to illness centuries ago, the panic, the search for answers, the hope for healing, those are echoes we still hear today. It reminds us that we're all vulnerable, and that caring for each other and learning from what came before is a timeless wisdom. The fight for health is a story that keeps unfolding, demanding our attention, our science, and our compassion. How people make big changes, then regret them. Have you ever made a big decision, felt really sure about it, and then later wished you could go back to how things were? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? Well, here's the thing. Groups of people, even whole countries, do this too. They make huge choices, believing they'll fix everything or make life much better. But over time, the big changes they wanted can bring problems they never saw coming. Think about ancient Rome. The Roman Empire grew incredibly powerful and huge. This was a massive change from being a small city. They kept expanding, taking over new lands, and building amazing things. But their very size became a problem. It was too hard to control, to feed everyone, and to keep peace. The choices they made to get bigger, which seemed great at the time, eventually led to constant wars, money troubles, and a society that struggled under its own weight. It wasn't one bad move, but many big changes over centuries that twisted things in ways no one truly wanted in the end. It's like when you and your friends decide to completely change your school's annual fundraiser. Instead of the usual simple bake sale, you all vote for a massive, complicated carnival. It sounds exciting at first. You picture all the fun, but then you start planning, and you realize how much work it is finding volunteers, setting up rides, getting special permits. It becomes overwhelming. People get stressed and grumpy. You might even miss the old, easy bake sale. You learn the big change created more problems than it solved. even though it started with good intentions. This is a tough part of being human. We want things to improve, so we try new paths. But sometimes, in trying to fix one thing, we accidentally break another, or create new challenges we didn't foresee. History shows us this pattern over and over. It reminds us to think deeply, to consider not just what we gain, but also what we might lose, or what new struggles we might invite when we push for grand transformations. Every choice, no matter how hopeful, carries a shadow of the unknown, and sometimes a quiet sadness for what was given up. The never-ending fight for fair rules. Have you ever felt like a rule just wasn't fair? Maybe in a game, or at home, or even at school. That feeling, that knot in your stomach when something just doesn't sit right, that's a very old human experience, driving countless stories. Think about it. In every group, from a small classroom to a whole country, there are rules. But here's the thing, not everyone always agrees on what's fair. Some rules benefit certain people more than others. When that happens, people question, they speak up, they fight for change. From the earliest villages to mighty empires, people have always argued about who makes the rules, and if those rules protect everyone. It's a story written in tears and triumphs, in quiet whispers and loud demands. It's about the powerful trying to keep things the same, and those without power striving for a voice, for a seat at the table. Imagine your favorite video game. What if the game developers suddenly changed a major rule, giving some players super abilities and others a huge disadvantage? You'd feel cheated, right? You'd want to fight for a level playing field, so everyone has a real chance. You'd want fair rules for all, not just a select few. This isn't just about ancient history or faraway places. It's a core part of being human. We long for justice, for a world where everyone gets a fair shot. And that longing, that endless push for things to be better, for rules to serve all of us, that's a story that keeps playing out, again and again. It reminds us that while the fight can be hard, the dream of a truly fair world is always worth holding on to, guiding us forward. When everyone thinks their way is the only way, have you ever felt so completely sure about something that it just had to be the only right way? It's a powerful feeling, isn't it? This deep certainty that our view, our beliefs, our path is the true one, and sometimes everyone around us feels the exact same way about their own right way. This belief, that our way is the only way, is a quiet force. It builds walls between people. It shapes how entire groups see the world, often making them blind to other truths, other possibilities. Think about history. So many conflicts, big and small, started because different groups were absolutely convinced their understanding of the world, their gods, their laws, or their land was the one and only correct path. The Roman Empire, for example, believed its way of life, its laws, and its power were the most advanced, and sometimes they struggled to understand other cultures, or felt other ways were just plain wrong. This thinking wasn't always bad, but it often led to clashes, to a refusal to see other values. The ancient Greek thinkers even talked about this, how our own limited view can trap us and lead to misunderstanding. Here's the thing, you see this even in small ways. Maybe your friend thinks the best way to study for a test is by making flashcards, and they just can't imagine why you'd prefer reading notes out loud. Or maybe your family has a specific tradition, and it's just how things are done, even if another family does it totally differently. Both ways can be good, but sometimes we get stuck believing only one way works, and that's why it matters. When we only see our own path as the only path, we miss out. We close ourselves off to new ideas, to understanding other hearts. It's like only seeing one color in a rainbow. But when we pause, when we try to look through another's eyes, even for a moment, the world opens up. We learn that right can have many forms, and that kindness often begins with simply trying to understand, not to conquer. It helps us find peace, both within ourselves and with others. The struggle to feed everyone. Have you ever felt a deep, empty ache in your stomach? Not just from missing a snack, but from a true, unsettling hunger. That feeling, that basic need for food, has shaped human history in powerful, often heartbreaking ways. For as long as people have walked the earth, figuring out how to feed everyone has been one of our biggest challenges. It sounds simple, right? Just grow more food. But it's never been that easy. Imagine the first small villages, where every family worked hard, hoping the rain would come, hoping pests wouldn't ruin their crops. If the harvest failed, hunger followed, sometimes leading to whole groups of people moving to find new land, or even disappearing. Great empires rose and fell, partly because they couldn't guarantee food for their people. Ancient Rome, for example, relied heavily on grain shipped from Egypt. If those ships didn't arrive, people starved, and unrest grew. Here's the thing, it's not just about having enough food. It's about getting that food to every single person who needs it. Think of it like this. Imagine your school has a huge pizza party. There are enough pizzas for everyone, but they're all piled up in one classroom, and only a few students know how to get them or carry them. Others might be too far away, or not strong enough to get through the crowd. So, even with plenty of pizza, some kids might still go hungry. That's a small picture of a huge problem. This struggle reminds us that even with all our progress, some very old questions remain. It's a quiet whisper through time, asking us to think about fairness, about how we share, and about the deep human connection we feel when someone else is suffering. It shows us that working together to solve this problem is a deeply human act, one that keeps repeating through history. Why some things just get too big to handle. Have you ever looked at something grand, something truly enormous, and felt a tiny shiver? Maybe a massive old tree, or a picture of a sprawling city. There's a deep beauty to size, a kind of quiet wonder. But here's the thing, sometimes what makes something grand also makes it fragile. It's like it expands so much, it can't quite hold its own weight anymore. It stretches past its breaking point. Think about a school project. If it's just you and a friend, you can easily share ideas, divide tasks, and keep track of everything. The goal is clear, the path is smooth. But what happens if 20 or 50 people are added to that project? Everyone has different ideas, different ways of working. Communication becomes a jumble. The original idea might get lost in the noise and the many moving parts. It becomes a mess. No one person can truly understand or guide. History whispers this truth to us. Take empires like Rome. It started as a small city, then grew to control vast lands and peoples. It became incredibly powerful. But it also became incredibly complicated. So many different cultures, languages, long distances, to send messages or enforce laws. The leaders couldn't see every problem on the far edges of their territory, and that's why it matters. The sheer scale made it impossible to keep everything together. The system got too stretched, too thin. It buckled under its own weight, not always from an outside attack, but from the inside, from being too big to manage. It's a quiet, humbling lesson. This idea, it makes you wonder about the balance in everything, even in power or growth, about how sometimes strength itself can become a weakness if it expands without limits. There's an ache in seeing something once magnificent become unwieldy, losing its way. It gently reminds us that even impressive creations have boundaries, and understanding those limits can be a kind of wisdom. It's a thought that quietly stays with you, pushing you to consider what truly lasts, and why. The way new communication changes everything, then settles. Have you ever thought how new ways of talking change our world? History shows us a pattern. Every time a big new communication method appears, it feels like a massive earthquake. Everything shifts. But then, it slowly finds its place, settling into a normal part of our lives. Think about writing itself. Before we could write, all stories and knowledge lived only in spoken words. Then, putting thoughts onto paper changed everything. Ideas could travel far, lasting forever. This reshaped societies. This was a huge shift. Yet, writing became a basic tool we barely notice. Then came the printing press. Before that, books were rare, expensive. The press made them common and cheap. Ideas exploded, spreading fast. This helped start new thinking. Some worried it would cause chaos, but it settled. Reading became a normal part of learning. We see this same pattern today. Remember when smartphones became common, or social media first exploded? It felt huge, even overwhelming. Everyone was instantly reachable. New rules for connecting appeared. Plenty worried. But now, it's just part of daily routine. It's how we chat with friends, how we get news. It's simply how we live. Here's the thing. Even the most powerful new ways of talking, the ones that seem to flip the world, eventually become familiar. They change us deeply, but then they join the quiet, steady flow of human experience. It reminds us our ability to adapt, to make the new feel normal, is a constant rhythm in our long human story. How good ideas get twisted over time. Have you ever seen something beautiful, something meant for good, slowly change into something else, maybe even something not so good? It's a strange thing, but ideas, even the best ones, don't always stay pure. They start bright, full of hope, meant to help people or make things better. But then, as time passes, as many different hands touch them, as different voices speak about them, they can bend, they can twist, their original purpose gets buried, sometimes by accident, sometimes on purpose. Think about ancient philosophies. Guys like Plato had big thoughts about how to live well, how a city should work. Their core ideas were about fairness, wisdom, and truth. But over hundreds of years, people read their words in new ways. Sometimes, these new ways made the ideas stronger. Other times, they were used to justify things the original thinkers would have hated, like unfair social systems. The idea of a perfect society got used to control people, instead of truly freeing them. It's a bit like playing telephone. One person whispers a simple phrase. By the time it goes around a big circle, the last person says something completely different. The original message wasn't bad, but the way it traveled, how it was heard and passed on, changed it entirely. Or think about a school rule made to keep everyone safe. Later, maybe people forget why the rule existed. It just feels like an unfair restriction, changing how it's seen and used. This isn't about blaming anyone. It's just how things work. Ideas are living things, and they change as the world changes. It shows us how important it is to remember where things started, to look back at the first spark, to ask, what was the real point here? Because understanding that first good intention might help us keep the good idea from getting lost forever. It makes us think about our own part in keeping good ideas true. The patterns of how cities grow and shrink. Have you ever stopped to think about the buildings around you? Not just what they are, but how they got there, and why some old shops close, while new ones pop up. Here's the thing. Cities are a lot like us. They're born, they grow, they change, and sometimes they even fade away. This isn't just about brick and mortar, it's about people and their dreams. For thousands of years, humans have gathered together. We build cities where there's water, or good soil for food, or maybe a crossroads where people trade things. Think about ancient Rome, drawing people in like a giant magnet because it was a center of power and new ideas. Or imagine a bustling harbor city, full of ships from all over the world, bringing in goods and stories. People flocked there for jobs, for safety, for a chance at a better life. So the city expands, reaching further and further out, like roots spreading in the soil. Roads are built, homes are added, life hums with energy. But then, things can shift. A new trade route opens somewhere else. A war happens, making the city unsafe. Or maybe a big factory closes down, and suddenly, many jobs are gone. The city starts to shrink. People move away looking for new opportunities. Buildings become empty, streets quieter. It's like a popular school club. Everyone joins at first, excited and active. But if the leader leaves, or new, cooler clubs start, members slowly drift away until the club is small, or even gone. It's a bittersweet truth about life. Nothing stays the same forever. Cities are living stories, always being written by the choices we make and the world around us. And that's why it matters. Even when one part fades, new seeds are often planted. We see this cycle repeat, a quiet rhythm beneath the noise of our busy lives, reminding us that every ending holds the possibility of a new beginning. When we forget the lessons of the past, have you ever forgotten something important? Maybe a rule for a game, or a chore, and then, because you forgot, you made the same mistake again. History works like that, but bigger. Here's the thing. History isn't just old stories. It's like a big guide of experiences, good and bad. Think of it as a wisdom book from those before us. When we truly listen, history shows us what works, what hurts, what causes trouble. Close the book, we lose our guide. Even ancient thinkers knew this. They saw people often make similar choices with similar feelings. If a group made a choice that led to problems centuries ago, a new group, facing similar situations, might make that same choice. This happens unless they remember past errors. It's a quiet warning. Ignore it. The problem often returns. Imagine you're learning to ride a bike. You fall, forgetting to look straight. You learn. Next, you focus. But what if you forgot why you fell? You'd keep looking down, keep crashing. Life is like that. Forget too much powers, dangers, or how fear divides. And we build on shaky ideas. It's not about blame, but understanding. It's about picking up hard lessons, holding them like wisdom. Remembering truly, we're not stuck repeating mistakes, we gain the calm strength to build something new, something better. We stand on the foundation of all who learned. We choose a wiser path, guided by what was. Why people look for a perfect place to live. Have you ever just wanted to find that perfect spot? Maybe it's a cozy corner of your room, or a secret place in the woods, or even just a specific chair where everything feels right. There's a deep, quiet yearning inside us all to find a place where we belong, a spot that feels completely safe and truly ours. It's more than just a building or a piece of land. It's about a feeling. It's a hunger for peace, a shelter from the storms of life. Think way back to the very first humans. They weren't looking for fancy houses. They were looking for a cave that kept out the cold, a riverbend that offered fresh water, or a valley safe from predators. Their survival depended on finding the perfect spot. As communities grew, people sought fertile land for crops, strong hills for defense, or harbors for trade. History shows us civilizations rising and falling, often tied to whether they could secure and protect their ideal place. This isn't just old stories, it's a pattern, a quiet echo in our hearts today. It's a lot like how a tiny bird builds its nest, carefully choosing the strongest branch, the warmest materials, or how your pet might circle its bed a few times before finally curling up. Just so. They're searching for comfort, for safety, for that exact feeling of home. Our brains are wired that way too. We crave stability, predictability, and a place where we can truly relax and be ourselves. It's a basic human need, like needing food or sleep. So, this search for a perfect place isn't just about real estate. It's a reflection of our deepest hopes. It's about finding somewhere our spirit can rest, somewhere our dreams can grow, and somewhere we feel completely understood and at peace. It reminds us that maybe the truly perfect place isn't always a physical address, but a feeling we carry within us, a sense of belonging we create wherever we go. It's the search for a home that resonates with our soul. The constant struggle for enough resources. Have you ever felt a quiet knot in your stomach when you thought there wasn't enough for everyone? Maybe it was the last slice of pizza, or tickets to an event you really wanted to see. That deep, uneasy feeling is a tiny echo of something much bigger. Here's the thing. Since the very beginning, life on Earth, including human life, has been a constant search for what we need to survive. Think about it. We all need food to eat, clean water to drink, and a safe place to live. Animals need the same things, but these things aren't always endless. Sometimes, there just isn't enough to go around easily. This isn't a new problem. It's a very old one. Ancient civilizations often fought over fertile land, which meant more food. Explorers sailed across oceans looking for new spices or precious metals. Countries still make choices about where to get oil, gas, or even the materials for our phones. It's this deep, almost primal drive, the need to secure what keeps us alive and comfortable. Imagine trying out for the school basketball team. So many kids want to play, but there are only a few spots available. You push yourself. You try your hardest, because you deeply want one of those limited spaces. That feeling, that competitive urge, comes from the same place. It's about wanting to secure a valuable, limited resource, in this case, a spot on the team. This struggle isn't always about war or big battles. It's also about everyday choices, about how we decide to share, or how we invent new ways to get what we need. It reminds us that everything is connected. The water we drink, the food we eat, the space we occupy, all are shared. Understanding this constant pull for resources can help us see why people and nations behave the way they do, and maybe, just maybe, inspire us to find kinder, smarter ways to make sure everyone has enough. How different cultures clash, then blend. Have you ever felt a little strange when something totally new comes into your world? Our world is full of these moments, but on a much bigger scale. This is how different cultures, whole groups of people with their own ways of life meet. Here's the thing. When two very different cultures come together, it's rarely smooth from the start. They often clash. Imagine two powerful rivers, each flowing its own way, suddenly meeting. There's turbulence, maybe even a little chaos. This has played out again and again through history. Think of ancient empires expanding, meeting people with different gods, different clothes, different rules. Sometimes, this meeting was violent, full of sadness and loss. People struggled to understand each other, to accept ways that felt so foreign. There's a deep ache in these collisions, but here's what happens. That initial clash isn't always the end. Over time, slowly, pieces from each culture start to mix. It's like trying a new food that seemed weird at first, but then you realize it's delicious and you want it again. Or how different music genres blend to create something new and exciting. Think about how many words in English came from other languages, or how many different kinds of food we eat today from all over the world. These things weren't always here. They arrived, maybe caused a stir, and then found a home. This blending makes the world richer, doesn't it? It shows us that even after confusion or pain, something beautiful can grow. It reminds us that humanity is always changing, always learning, always adding new threads to its colorful tapestry. It's a quiet truth about how we grow together. The story of heroes who get too powerful. Have you ever thought about the quiet sadness when a great idea, or a truly good person, changes? It's a strange thing, isn't it? How sometimes the very people we look up to, the ones who started out saving the day, can also become a problem. History shows us this pattern, unfolding again and again, like a familiar melody played in a different key. Someone rises up, perhaps with a heart full of hope and a clear vision to fix what's broken. They fight against injustice. They bring people together, and everyone cheers, seeing them as a champion. But slowly, almost without anyone noticing, something can begin to shift. Here's the thing about power. It's like a fire. A small flame can warm you, cook your food, and keep you safe in the dark. It's incredibly useful, a hero in its own right. But if that fire grows too large, if it spreads beyond its boundaries, it can consume everything. The same thing can happen with people. When someone gains immense power, when everyone listens without question and there are no real limits, it's like walking a very thin tightrope high above the ground. Their original good intentions might still be there, but their methods can change, becoming harsher, more absolute. They might start to believe only they know the right path, or that the rules simply don't apply to them anymore. What was once their strength, their ability to lead, can slowly transform into a burden, or even a danger, to those they once vowed to protect. It makes you pause and wonder, doesn't it, about the heavy weight of being in charge, and how fragile good intentions can be when faced with absolute power. It's not about judging, but understanding this deep, often tragic, part of human nature. Maybe true heroism isn't just about gaining power to fix things, but knowing when to share it, when to listen, and even when to humbly step back. It's a quiet, important reminder that even the brightest lights need boundaries, so they can keep shining without accidentally burning down everything around them. When truth gets lost in all the noise, have you ever tried to hear a quiet whisper in a really loud room? Maybe during a school assembly, or when everyone at home is talking at once. It's tough, right? The soft, important message just gets swallowed up. Here's the thing, history works a lot like that. Sometimes, the actual truth, the simple facts of what happened, gets lost in all the shouting and distractions. It's not always about someone trying to trick us. Often, it's just that so many stories, so many opinions, and so much strong emotion get piled on top of each other. The real story, the quiet truth, gets buried underneath. Think back to ancient times. People didn't have social media, but they still had powerful leaders, gossips, and persuasive speakers. Long ago, a wise Greek thinker named Plato talked about how people can mistake shadows for reality. He meant that what everyone says is real isn't always the actual, solid truth. It's like a crowd's loud opinion can easily drown out a single, honest voice, no matter how clear that voice might be. Imagine a school cafeteria at lunch. There's so much happening, laughter, chatter, dropped trays. Now, if someone tried to tell you a really important, quiet secret across the room, would you catch it? Probably not. All the other sounds, the general buzz, would make it nearly impossible. The secret wouldn't be fake. It would just be hidden by all the commotion. This is a big part of understanding history. We have to learn to listen past the loudest voices, past the popular ideas, to find the gentle hum of fact. It means digging deep and being patient. We look for the quiet, clear truth that might be hidden under layers of what people thought or felt was right at the time. It asks us to be careful, to be truly curious, and to question with an open mind. Because sometimes, the most important truths are like whispers in the wind, easy to miss if you're not listening closely. The rhythm of boom times and hard times. Have you ever noticed how some feelings seem to come and go, like happiness fading into worry, then slowly, hope returning? It's a bit like that with whole countries, and even with our history. There are times when everything feels full of sunshine, jobs are easy to find, people feel good about the future, and new ideas bloom. We call these boom times. It's a period of growth and excitement, but then the feeling shifts. Just like a season changes, sometimes things get tough. Money might be tight for families, jobs disappear, and worries grow heavier. These are the hard times. It's not just a modern idea. People have watched these cycles happen for thousands of years. Ancient civilizations saw their great cities rise to power, full of art and innovation. Then, after many years, faced challenges, decline, or change. They understood that nothing stays exactly the same forever. Think of the ocean tide. It rises slowly, covering the sand with beautiful water, full of movement and life. Everything feels abundant. Then, just as surely, it pulls back, leaving the shore exposed, sometimes a bit empty, with traces of what was there. But we know the tide will always return, bringing new waves and new chances. This rhythm isn't about good or bad always, but about constant movement, about things changing. This pattern, these ups and downs, they are part of the human story. They teach us so much. They show us how resilient people can be, how they work together, and how they find strength even when things are difficult. They also remind us to appreciate the good times, to be kind, and to remember that even the toughest moments eventually pass. Knowing this rhythm of history doesn't just teach us about the past, it teaches us to understand our own lives, and to find hope in every cycle. Why some stories just stick around forever. Have you ever stopped to wonder why some old stories, some lessons from long ago, still feel so fresh, so real, even today? It's like they've been whispered from one generation to the next, never losing their power. The truth is, these stories stick because they speak to something deep inside all of us, something that hasn't changed much over thousands of years, because they touch on the things that make us human. Ancient thinkers, like the Greek philosophers, saw this. They talked about universal truths, ideas about life, and how we act that are true no matter when or where you live. Think about it. Whether it was the struggle for power in ancient Rome, or the search for belonging in a long-ago village, humans faced similar feelings, similar big questions. We all want to be understood. We all look for a sense of purpose. We all seek kindness. Here's the thing. Our brains are wired to look for patterns, and our hearts respond to shared experiences. We love stories that help us make sense of the world, especially ones that show us ourselves. Imagine a famous song that's decades old, maybe even from your grandparents' time. The words about a broken heart or the joy of a new adventure can still hit you. Why? Because those core feelings are simply part of being human. It's like gravity. It affects everyone, everywhere, whether in ancient Egypt or modern-day America. Our emotions, our basic needs, they work in the same way. They create recurring patterns in our lives and history. We all want to be loved. We all get scared sometimes. We all wish for fairness. These feelings are the threads that connect all of us through all time. So, when we look at history repeating itself, we're not just seeing old events on a dusty page. We're seeing reflections of ourselves, echoes of human hearts just like ours. These enduring stories aren't just history lessons. They're gentle whispers from the past, reminding us that we are all part of one continuous human journey. We're all hoping for similar things, making similar mistakes, and always learning what it means to be alive and connected. The way old fears show up in new forms. Have you ever wondered why some worries just stick around, even when the world around us changes completely? It's like our deepest fears are really old stories, told again and again, but with new characters and different settings. The scary thing isn't always the same, but the knot in our stomach, the racing heart, that feeling is ancient. Here's the thing. Humans have always been afraid of certain stuff. We feared what we couldn't see, what might hurt us, or being left all alone. Thousands of years ago, people worried about a lion in the bushes or a big storm. These were real dangers, but the feeling of being threatened, of losing control, of not being safe, that feeling never truly disappears. It just finds new reasons to appear. Like a familiar tune played with different instruments. Don't think about it. Long ago, people worried about strangers from another village. Would they be a friend or a danger? That's an old fear of the unknown. Today, that old fear can show up when we're scrolling online. We might see comments from someone we don't know, or read news about things far away, and a similar unease creeps in. The stranger isn't a person walking up to our camp anymore. Now, it's a profile picture or a headline. The underlying worry about what's unfamiliar, what might disrupt our safety files, strangely similar. Recognizing the old face of a fear in its new costume gives us a quiet strength. It shows us we've felt this before, in different ways, across history. Understanding this deep connection across time can make new worries feel a little less overwhelming, a little less lonely. It reminds us that courage, too, is an ancient story we keep telling. How people deal with changes they don't like. Have you ever felt that quiet ache in your chest when something you deeply counted on suddenly shifts, or a path you knew well disappears? It's a very human feeling, that resistance we have when the world doesn't stay still. We often don't like changes that weren't our idea, or ones that take away our comfort. Here's the thing, our brains are actually wired for predictability. They like patterns, routines, and knowing what comes next. When that gets broken, it can feel like a small tremor, even a threat. For centuries, people have wrestled with this. Think about how difficult it was for whole societies when new ideas came along. Like the Earth orbiting the Sun, not the other way around. It wasn't just a science lesson, it shook people's entire understanding of their place in the universe. Or when new inventions like the printing press made information widely available, it changed everything, and many felt a profound loss of the old ways, even if the new ways brought progress. This wasn't about being stubborn. It was about the deep emotional weight of having your established worldview challenged or taken away. It made people feel unsafe, unsure of what was true anymore. It's like when your favorite local hangout, the one with all your memories, suddenly closes down and becomes something totally new. Even if the new place is nice, there's a little sadness, a sense of loss for what was. You might walk by and feel a pang, wishing for the old familiar vibe, and that's okay. It's part of how we process change. Our minds need time to let go of the old before they can truly open up to the new. So, when we face changes we don't like, remember that feeling uneasy is natural. It's our heart telling us that something important to us is shifting. This might work for you. We can learn to hold that feeling gently, to understand it, and then, slowly, find our new footing. Because even though change can be hard and sometimes unwelcome, our ability to eventually adapt to it is one of the quiet strengths of being human. It reminds us that our story is always being written, and we have a part in how we face each new page. The dance between freedom and safety. Have you ever stopped to think about how much you want to be completely free, but also completely safe? It's a tricky balance, isn't it? Imagine you want to do anything you please, no rules, no limits. That feels like freedom. But what if everyone else also did exactly what they pleased? Soon, your safety might be at risk. This is the heart of it. Society, communities, even your own life, often swing between these two powerful desires, the pull to be truly free and the need to be truly safe. It's not about choosing one over the other completely. It's about finding that delicate spot where they can both exist, even if a little imperfectly. Think about when countries were formed. People gave up a little bit of their wild, untamed freedom. They agreed to follow some rules, like not hurting others, or paying taxes. Why? Because these rules promised a safer world, a place where people could generally trust each other, where there was some order. They traded a piece of absolute personal freedom for the shared safety of a community. Leaders and thinkers have wrestled with this idea for centuries, trying to figure out how much freedom is enough, and how much safety is too much control. It's like riding your bike. You love the feeling of wind in your hair, the open road, that's freedom. But your parents ask you to wear a helmet, right? Or you learn to stop at stop signs. Those are small limits on your freedom, yes, but they protect you. They keep you safe. No one wants to wear a helmet. Sometimes it feels like a chore, but you know it's there to help. It's a tiny example of how we accept a little less freedom for a lot more peace of mind. So this dance isn't just in history books or big government decisions. It's in our daily lives, in our choices. Every rule, every boundary, every choice we make as a community is part of this ancient, ongoing conversation. It reminds us that sometimes the greatest strength isn't having everything you want, but understanding the beautiful, difficult compromises that help us all live together. It's a quiet truth, one that whispers through time, asking us to consider not just ourselves, but the delicate balance of everything around us. When people try to escape their problems, have you ever felt that heavy knot in your stomach, knowing there's something hard you need to face, but all you want to do is turn away? Maybe it's a tough conversation, a big project, or a feeling you just can't shake. Here's the thing. Trying to escape our problems is a truly old story. We pretend they aren't there. We might move to a new place, hoping old worries won't follow. We bury ourselves in distractions, hoping quiet will swallow our troubles. But here's what I found. Problems rarely stay buried. History shows this. Empires tried to ignore internal issues, which then exploded. Leaders have tried to outrun the truth, but truth catches up. Ancient thinkers knew this. They taught peace isn't avoiding the storm, but standing in it. They saw how hearts running from pain often find more pain. Think about a small crack in a wall at home. If you just paint over it, the crack doesn't go away, right? It might even get bigger, weakening the whole structure. Our worries are similar. If you pretend that big history essay isn't due, or that difficult talk with a friend isn't needed, those things don't just vanish. Instead, they often grow heavier, becoming a bigger weight on your shoulders. Always running, always looking over your shoulder, can be exhausting, and that's why it matters. There's a quiet strength in turning around, in facing the mess, even when it feels overwhelming, because sometimes just looking at a problem, just admitting it's there, is the first step toward making it smaller, toward understanding it, and finally, toward finding your way through. It's a quiet courage that reminds us we are stronger than we think, and our problems, though real, don't have to define us. The echo of old debates about right and wrong. Have you ever wondered if the arguments we have today about what's fair, or what's truly right, are actually new? Here's the thing. Often, they aren't. History is like a vast, quiet library, and when you listen closely, you can hear the echoes of old debates bouncing through the centuries. It's like we're asking the same deep questions that people asked thousands of years ago. Think about ancient Greece. Long, long ago, thinkers like Socrates gathered in public places. They didn't have smartphones, but they had big questions. They talked for hours about justice, about what makes a good leader, or if it's ever okay to lie to protect someone. They explored how a society should decide what is acceptable and what isn't. And here's what I found. We are still grappling with those exact same ideas today. The world looks different, but the core human struggle to figure out right from wrong stays the same. Consider a simple example. Imagine your school debating a new rule. Maybe it's about how much homework is fair, or whether certain books should be in the library. Some argue one way, others another. This isn't just a new argument happening now. It's a bit like people in the past debating if a new law was fair, or if a king was ruling justly. The specific rules change, but the underlying feeling, that deep desire for fairness, the struggle to define what's truly good for everyone, well, that feeling repeats itself, and that's why it matters. Recognizing this shows us something profound. These aren't simple problems with easy answers. They are part of what it means to be human. When we understand that people long ago wrestled with these same complex ideas, it can give us a quiet strength. It teaches us patience, helps us listen more closely, and reminds us that we are all connected in this timeless search for what is good and true. It's a shared journey, stretching back further than we can even imagine. Why we always need something new to watch or listen to. Have you ever stopped to wonder why we can't just stick with one thing forever? Why that favorite song, that amazing movie, or that brilliant game eventually just isn't enough? It's a quiet ache inside us, this constant craving for something new to see, hear, or feel. And here's the thing, it's not just about getting bored. It's something much deeper, woven into the very fabric of being human. Our minds are built to explore. Think about it. Long ago, our ancestors didn't just stay in one spot. They moved, they discovered, they learned new things about their world to survive. This ancient instinct, this push to find what's beyond the horizon, still lives inside us. Early thinkers, even thousands of years ago, pondered this. They knew that human curiosity wasn't just about facts. It was about growth, about expanding our understanding of everything. We are designed to seek variety, to gather new information, to make fresh connections. It's like when you have a favorite food. You love it, right? But if you ate it every single meal, every single day, you'd quickly get tired of it. No matter how good it is, your taste buds, your body, your brain would start to crave something different. It's the same with what we feed our minds. That feeling of finishing a great book and immediately wanting another, or finding a new artist whose music just speaks to you. That's this ancient drive at work. This isn't a weakness though, it's a strength. This need for new stories, new melodies, new sights, is what sparks our imagination. It's how we learn about the world, how we understand different lives, and how we even understand ourselves a little better. It reminds us that there is always more to discover, more to feel, and more ways to grow. And that's why this quiet seeking never truly stops. It's a journey without end, a gentle pull towards the next beautiful thing. How governments try to control what people know. Have you ever thought about how powerful a story can be? Not just a made-up tale, but the story of what's real and true. And what if some of those stories were carefully edited, not by a writer, but by people in charge? Here's the thing. Governments, throughout history, have often tried to shape what their people believe. They do this by controlling the information that gets out. Imagine a big screen showing a movie about your town. The government might choose which scenes you see, which characters are heroes, and which events are never mentioned. They might do this because they think it's best, or to keep their power strong. They want people to agree and follow rules without much questioning. This isn't new. For thousands of years, rulers have understood this. They'd burn books that disagreed with them, silence people who spoke uncomfortable truths, or even rewrite history textbooks. It's like when you tell a friend a story, but leave out details that make you look bad. You're shaping their understanding, right? Governments do that on a much larger scale, deciding what news channels can report, what websites you can visit, or what parts of history get taught in schools. Think about it like this. Your phone has a filter, or maybe an app that only shows you certain kinds of posts. Someone chose what that filter lets through. In a way, governments sometimes act like a giant filter, deciding what information reaches your mind. It can feel unsettling, knowing that not every piece of the puzzle is always available. But here's what I found. The quiet strength comes from simply noticing this, from asking, is there more to this story? Wanting to know the full truth, even if it's messy, is a powerful and very human act. It's how we truly understand the world around us. The never-ending cycle of innovation and worry. Have you ever noticed that strange mix of excitement and a little worry when something truly new arrives, like a cool new game or an app that promises to change everything? It's amazing what we create, but often a quiet voice inside asks, what if this changes too much? Is it truly for the best? Here's the thing. This dance between inventing and questioning is ancient. Humans constantly dream up fresh ideas and tools. That's innovation. Yet, right alongside that urge to build, there's always been doubt. People throughout time have wondered what new things would truly mean. Think about the first cars. People loved the speed and freedom, but they also worried, would cars be too dangerous, too noisy? Would they break down old ways of life? There was hope for progress, but also natural hesitation. This back and forth isn't bad. It's simply human. We reach for better, then pause to consider the full impact. We want the good new ideas bring, but also to protect what's important. It's like the internet. It connects us worldwide, which is incredible, but it also brings worries about privacy or online issues. This cycle of creating and questioning isn't a flaw. It's a sign of how deeply we care. It means we aren't blindly rushing forward. It shows we want to make sure that as we build the future, we do it with thought. Our inventions must truly serve us, with wisdom and heart. When the powerful ignore the poor. Have you ever noticed how sometimes the loudest voices get all the attention, or how some people just seem to be forgotten, pushed to the side? It's a feeling that echoes through history, like a quiet, sad song. This is about what happens when those with a lot of power, whether leaders, governments, or big companies, forget about people who have very little. They don't see their struggles, their hunger, or their quiet desperation. It's like someone driving a big car, looking straight ahead, completely missing the small cracks in the road or the person shivering on the sidewalk. They only focus on their own path. Here's the thing. When the powerful ignore the poor, it's not just unfair, it's dangerous. Think about old empires, mighty civilizations that seemed unbreakable. Often, their downfall wasn't from outside enemies at first, but from within. The rich got richer, building grand palaces, while ordinary people starved. They ignored cries for help, thinking their own comfort would last forever. But unhappiness, like a small spark, can grow into a roaring fire when ignored for too long. The French Revolution, for example, didn't just happen suddenly. It was years of common people being ignored, carrying burdens while the powerful lived in luxury. They had nothing left to lose, and that's why it matters. Imagine your own body. Every part needs blood and food. If your brain, the powerful part, decides to ignore your little finger or your stomach, refusing to send what it needs, what happens? Eventually, that part gets sick, it stops working, and it makes the whole body suffer. The same is true for a society. When a large group of people is neglected, when they feel unseen and unheard, the whole structure becomes weak. It's a truth that has played out again and again across centuries, a quiet warning whispered by the ruins of what once was. A truly strong society cares for everyone, making sure no one is left behind. The way people organize to make things better. Have you ever felt like something wasn't right, or wished you could change a big problem? Sometimes, these feelings can make us feel small, like our voice won't matter. But hear the way people organize to make things better. Have you ever felt truly helpless, like a problem was just too big for one person to fix? It's a heavy feeling, isn't it? Like trying to lift a huge rock all by yourself. But here's the thing about humans, we rarely stay alone for long when facing something impossible. Throughout history, whenever challenges seemed to crush us, people found each other. They gathered, they talked, and they decided they wouldn't just stand by. Think about it. From the earliest villagers building defenses together, to entire nations deciding to fight for fairness, this pattern repeats. It's not about one hero, but about many voices becoming one chorus. It's the deep, almost instinctual need we have to connect, to share burdens, and to push back against what's wrong. This isn't just about big protests. It's woven into our very nature, a quiet strength. Imagine your own body for a moment. If a harmful germ gets in, what happens? Your individual cells, each tiny and vulnerable on its own, don't just give up. Instead, they organize, they signal each other, create defenses, and work as a massive team, your immune system, to protect the whole. One cell can't do it, but millions working together can save your life. It's a silent, constant battle where organization means survival, and that's why it matters to us today. This deep human impulse to unite, to form groups, to speak out, to build, to heal, it's still here. It's a quiet promise that no matter how daunting the world seems, we always carry the ability to find others, link arms, and begin making things better, piece by painstaking piece. It reminds us that our greatest strength isn't just our own smarts, but the courage we find in each other's presence. Why some foods become popular, then disappear. Have you ever wondered why certain foods feel like they're everywhere, then just vanish? Like a favorite song that plays non-stop, then quietly fades from the radio. It's strange, this rise and fall with what we eat. Think about it. A new snack or drink appears. Maybe it has a fun color, or a crazy flavor. Everyone talks about it. It feels fresh, exciting. We try it, our friends try it. It becomes a shared experience, a small moment of joy. We feel part of a trend. For a while, it truly shines, filling grocery aisles in our conversations. But human interest often moves like a tide. We always look for the next new thing, drawn to novelty. Our ancestors did this too. Imagine a new spice from far away. People would be amazed, eager to try it. It would be a sensation. Over time, it either became everyday, or something else took its place. Our attention can be surprisingly short. We remember old favorites, but often chase new excitements. Take those colorful smoothie bowls from a few years ago. Remember how every picture online showed them, vibrant and healthy. Everyone wanted one. They felt special. But eventually, the buzz quieted. Other trends popped up. Maybe they took too much effort, or the novelty wore off. They stopped being the thing. The moment passed, and that's the truth about popularity. It's often a bright flash. It shows how much we crave newness, how easily our hearts are captured by a flavor or a feeling. But it also reminds us, nothing stays in the spotlight forever. Most things have their season, their moment to shine. Then they quietly make way for what comes next. This constant ebb and flow is a deep part of being human. It's about appreciating the moment, knowing it might not stay. How families stick together through hard times. Have you ever wondered why? When everything else falls apart, families often hold on tighter. It's a pattern woven deep into the story of humanity, repeated through every generation. When life hits hard, a sickness, a war, or just tough times, when money is scarce, something profound happens. Families, in their truest sense, become a shelter. Not just a physical place, but a powerful feeling of safety and shared purpose. They share burdens, comfort tears, and find creative ways to make do. Think about ancient communities facing harsh winters, or pioneers moving to new lands with only each other for protection. This isn't just about love, though that's a huge part of it. It's about survival, too. People have always instinctively understood they are stronger together, especially when the world feels against them. It's like the roots of old trees in a forest. When a strong wind or a heavy flood comes, an individual tree might sway and snap. But when many trees grow close, their roots intertwine beneath the soil, forming a hidden, unbreakable network. This network holds them all firm. One tree supports another, even if you can't see the deeper connection above ground. That's how it is with families. The strong times build those unseen connections, those quiet understandings, and when the storm hits, those deep, invisible bonds keep everyone from being swept away, helping them stand strong. So, here's what I found. The way families pull together in hard times isn't just a nice idea. It's a fundamental, enduring truth of human experience. It shows us a quiet, powerful strength that keeps repeating itself through time, across cultures. It reminds us that even when the world feels unpredictable and challenging, the deep need for belonging and support, for having someone to lean on and someone to lift up, remains constant. It's a quiet hope that always finds its way back, through every age, offering comfort and courage. The same old arguments about who should lead. Have you ever wondered why? No matter the time or place, people seem to argue about the same things, especially about who should be in charge. Think about it. From ancient empires to your school's student council, the search for a good leader and the fights over who that person should be are as old as humanity itself. Here's the thing. For thousands of years, people have wrestled with how to best organize themselves. Should it be the strongest person, the wisest, someone chosen by everyone, or someone who inherits the role? Empires rose and fell because of these very questions. In ancient Rome, people argued between kings, then a republic with elected officials, then emperors who held all the power, and each change came with intense discussions, often leading to conflict. Because everyone had different ideas about what makes a great leader. They wanted someone fair, strong, and smart, but rarely agreed on who that was. Think of it like choosing a team captain for a group project. Everyone wants someone who is good at organizing, who listens to ideas, and who can help the group get a good grade. But maybe one friend thinks the smartest person should lead, while another believes the most popular person will keep everyone happy, and a third person might just want someone who gets things done, even if they're a bit bossy. These different ideas can make it hard to pick one person, and sometimes the group even struggles because no one can agree on who should lead. This repeating pattern isn't about being stuck. It's about how deeply we care about being led well. It shows our constant hope for a better future, a hope that hinges on finding the right hands to guide us. And it reminds us that while the faces and places change, our search for true leadership remains a shared, human journey. When new tools make old jobs disappear, have you ever thought about what it must feel like to pour your heart into a job, to learn it inside and out, only for something new to come along and make that work disappear? It's a quiet kind of change, one that sneaks up slowly but can feel like a heavy weight when it arrives. This isn't a modern problem. It's a repeating story woven throughout human history. Every time we invent something truly amazing, a quicker way to build, a faster way to communicate, we also reshape the world of work, sometimes pushing old jobs into the past. Imagine a time when books were copied by hand. Monks would sit for hours, carefully drawing each letter, creating beautiful, one-of-a-kind treasures. It was slow, careful work, needing great skill and patience. Their purpose was clear. Then, Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press. Suddenly, books could be made much faster, cheaper, and in huge numbers. The world gained so much knowledge spread like wildfire. But here's the thing. Those dedicated scribes, who once spent their lives on this sacred task, found their precise skill less and less needed. It wasn't a mean act. It was just progress. But for them, it meant their life's work, their very identity, shifted dramatically. This pattern shows up everywhere. Think about the local video store, a place many of you might barely remember. People worked there, knew all the movies, helped you pick the perfect one for Friday night. Then, streaming services arrived. You could watch almost anything from your home. And just like that, those friendly faces behind the counter, those rows of tapes, slowly faded away. It's not about good or bad, but about how technology moves forward. And here's what I found when I think about this. Each time a new tool comes, it brings a mix of excitement and a soft sadness. It reminds us that our human value isn't just tied to the tasks we do, but to our ability to learn, to adapt, and to care. It's about the quiet strength needed to let go of old ways and find new paths. And that's why it matters. It teaches us that while the world keeps changing, our spirit of invention and our need for meaning stay constant. The return of big public health scares. Have you ever felt completely safe, like certain old problems were just gone? For a long time, many people thought big public health scares were mostly a thing of the past. We developed vaccines, discovered medicines, and learned so much about how sickness spreads. It felt like the really terrifying diseases from history, like the Black Death or smallpox, were just stories in old books, never to return. But here's the thing. History has a way of reminding us that nothing is ever truly gone forever. These widespread health crises, these moments when sickness sweeps across towns and countries, they tend to reappear, not always in the same form, but the idea, the experience of a community suddenly facing an invisible threat. It comes back. Don't think about how a garden can be completely clean, free of weeds. You work hard, pull them all out. You feel good about it. But then, given time, and maybe some rain, new weeds start to pop up. Some are familiar, some are new kinds you haven't seen before. They challenge you to learn new ways to care for your garden. It's a similar cycle with public health. We learn a lot from past struggles, creating better ways to protect ourselves and each other. But new viruses evolve, or old ones find new paths, and that familiar feeling of worry, of uncertainty, returns. It can make us feel small, facing something so huge and unseen, but it also teaches us something vital. It shows us how deeply connected we all are, across cities and borders. When one person is sick, or a community is struggling, it affects everyone. It quietly asks us to remember the strength of looking out for each other, to share knowledge, and to understand that staying healthy is a journey we take together, always learning from yesterday to face tomorrow. Why we get tired of the same old things. Have you ever had a favorite song? One you played constantly until, almost without you noticing, it just sounded fine, not bad, but not thrilling anymore. Or maybe your favorite food, if you ate it every single day, would slowly lose its amazing taste. This feeling, this quiet tiredness of things we once loved, is a really human experience. It makes us wonder why our minds, which often liked comfort, also keep searching for something new. Here's the thing. Our brains are kind of wired for change, for learning, for finding new stuff. When something is truly new, it lights up exciting paths in our minds. We pay attention more, we remember it better. But once it's known, once we can predict it, our brains sort of put it in a known file. They save that special newness energy for the next thing that might challenge us, the next interesting puzzle. Even thinkers long ago, thousands of years before us, noticed this. They watched people chase new feelings, new ideas, always looking for a fresh spark. They understood that deep down, the human spirit doesn't just want to stay in the same place forever. It yearns for something beyond the familiar. Think of it like this. Imagine you're exploring a giant, beautiful forest. Every new path, every new tree, every different animal is exciting. But what if you'd just walked the exact same small circle in that forest, day after day? The wonder would fade, right? It's similar with us. When we experience things over and over, our brains get super efficient. They stop needing to check every little detail. This efficiency helps us learn and survive, but it also means the magic of new slowly lessens. It's not that the song or the food became bad, it's that our inner adventurer, the part of us that loves to discover, needs a fresh journey. This deep, natural urge for change isn't a flaw. Instead, it's a quiet whisper inside us, nudging us forward. It's a reminder that life is a journey of always becoming more, a gentle push to keep exploring our world, to keep growing as people, and to find new kinds of beauty, both around us and deep within ourselves. It shows us that our hearts are always reaching, quietly, for deeper understanding and a new horizon. How the search for knowledge keeps going. Have you ever wondered why we always want to know more? Even after all the mistakes humans have made, all the times we seemed to go backwards, we still keep asking questions. It's like this deep, quiet fire inside us, a persistent hum. From the very beginning, people looked up at the vast night sky and asked, what are those tiny lights? Why do they move like that? They didn't just accept that's how it is. They yearned for understanding. Think about ancient Greek thinkers, like Aristotle or Plato. They spent their lives just thinking and talking, trying to figure out how the world worked, what made people happy, and what truth meant. They didn't have fancy labs or powerful computers. They just had their minds and their words. And even though many of their ideas have changed or been proven different over time, The act of asking, of seeking, that's what keeps going. Echoing through the centuries, it's like when you're trying to solve a tricky puzzle. Maybe it's a complicated video game level, or just trying to understand a new math problem. You try one strategy, and it doesn't work out. So you try another. You don't just give up and walk away, do you? You keep turning the pieces, pressing the buttons, or trying different formulas, learning the patterns. Each failed attempt teaches you something new. It shows you what not to do, or hints at a totally different path you hadn't considered. That feeling of figuring something out, even a small thing, is powerful. This drive isn't just about huge scientific breakthroughs or dusty philosophy books. It's also in the simple way we learn from our own daily mistakes, or how dedicated scientists keep pushing the boundaries of medicine even when a cure seems impossible. We keep building on what came before, adding our small piece to a huge, endless tapestry of understanding. Every answer we find often leads to 10 new questions. This quiet push reminds us that even when things seem dark or confusing, there's always more to learn, always more light to find, if we just keep looking. Our shared human story is always being written, one curious question and one new discovery at a time. The patterns of how people treat the earth. Have you ever thought about how we treat the very ground we walk on, or the water we drink? It's kind of a big deal, and if you look closely at history, you'll see a pattern that repeats itself again and again. For thousands of years, humans have tended to see nature as something separate from us, like a giant store just waiting for us to take what we need. The thing is, Earth isn't a never-ending store. Ancient civilizations, long before us, faced this truth. Think about the people in places like Mesopotamia, where some of the first cities grew. They farmed a lot, used up the soil's goodness, and sometimes didn't manage their water well. Over time, the land got tired. It became harder to grow food, and people had to move or their societies struggled. It's like if you had a favorite toy, and you played with it super hard every day, never taking care of it, never fixing it. Eventually, it breaks. And then what? Here's a simpler way to think about it. Imagine you have a shared snack bowl with your friends at a party. If everyone just grabs as much as they want, without thinking about others or how many snacks are left, that bowl will be empty really fast. No one gets enough, and the fun stops. That's a bit like how we've treated Earth's resources sometimes. Forests, clean air, fresh water. We take and take, believing there's always more. But here's what history also shows. When we ignore the warning signs, the land suffers, and so do we. The air gets harder to breathe, the water less safe to drink, the soil less able to grow food. It's a quiet whisper at first, then a loud shout. What we do to the earth, we ultimately do to ourselves. Because we aren't just living on this planet, we are completely part of it. Our future is tied to its well-being, like threads woven into the same fabric. Understanding this pattern isn't about guilt. It's about seeing clearly and choosing a different path forward. When old enemies become new friends, or vice versa, isn't it strange how feelings can change? How people or even countries that once stood against each other, sometimes violently, can later find a way to work together, even become close. And then, the opposite can happen too. Those who were once allies can drift apart, or even become rivals. This isn't just a modern idea. It's a rhythm of human history, a pattern that keeps showing up. Think about it like this. A river carves its path. It might crash against one bank for years, eroding it, but over time, the river can shift. It can find new channels, or the land can change, and suddenly, that old enemy bank becomes a quiet, friendly shore for new growth. For centuries, France and Germany fought many wars, some of the most terrible in history. There, people knew each other mostly as rivals. But here's the thing. After the World Wars, leaders from both countries decided they were tired of fighting. They chose a different path. They started working together, slowly, building trust. Now, they are strong partners in Europe. It shows us that even the deepest wounds can heal, and new bonds can form where old hatreds once stood. Or imagine you and a classmate. Maybe you both want the same role in a school play, and it feels like a big competition. You might even feel a little mad at each other. But then, the teacher puts you in a group for a project, and you have to work together. You start talking, you see things from their side, and suddenly, that competition fades. You might even find you have a lot in common. This pattern, this turning of enemies into friends and friends into foes, reminds us that nothing stays the same forever. Relationships, whether between people or nations, are always moving, always changing. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? It suggests that even in the darkest times, there's always a chance for a new beginning, a new understanding to bloom. And it also teaches us to value the good relationships we have, because they, too, are precious and can shift with time. The way stories of courage inspire us, always. Have you ever wondered why we're drawn to tales of bravery? It's not just about old heroes, it's about something deep inside us. Courage isn't being unafraid, it's feeling scared, truly scared, but still choosing to move forward, to speak up, to try, even when the path is hard and you might fail. For thousands of years, humans have told these stories. Think of ancient Greek myths about heroes, or folk tales of common people standing up to injustice. Our ancestors wrote them on cave walls, sang them around campfires. They passed them down through generations. These stories were more than just entertainment. They were lessons. They taught us what it meant to be strong, to be good, to protect what we believe in, even when it was scary. It's like our shared human memory, reminding us we've overcome tough times before, and we can do it again. Here's the thing. Courage isn't just for battlefields, it shows up in daily life. Like seeing a friend get picked on, and your heart races, but you still step in to say something. Or having a big presentation in class, your knees shake, but you get up there and speak anyway. That's courage. It's choosing what's right over what's easy or safe. It's a quiet inner fight, but it makes all the difference. These old stories, and new ones happening every day, whisper a powerful truth. Courage isn't just for history books or movies. It lives inside all of us. It's a quiet strength, waiting. Every time we hear or tell a story of someone brave, it doesn't just inspire us. It sparks that same deep strength in our own hearts. It reminds us we too can face our fears, whatever they may be, and stand tall. That's a truly powerful, hopeful feeling, always. It's proof that the human spirit, with all its courage, truly lasts forever. Why people love a good comeback story. Have you ever stopped to think why a truly great comeback story can just reach inside you and grab your heart? It's a powerful feeling, watching someone who has fallen down, made big mistakes, or faced incredible odds, somehow find their way back. They rise up. It's not just about the final win, you see, it's about every single step they took through the darkness, through the struggle, and the incredible, almost stubborn, strength it took to keep moving forward. Here's the thing. Humans have always told these stories. Since the very beginning, across all cultures, we've shared tales of heroes who faced terrible defeats, only to dig deep and find their way back to glory. These aren't just ancient legends. They speak to a timeless part of who we are. They show us what the human spirit is truly capable of when tested. They remind us that getting knocked down isn't the final chapter. It's often just the unexpected turn that sets up the most exciting part of the journey. Think about trying to master a new skill, like learning to ride a skateboard. You fall, scrape your knees, maybe feel a little silly. You might want to just give up and walk away. But then, something inside you says, one more try. You pick yourself up, you adjust, you learn, and eventually, you're rolling smoothly, feeling the wind, mastering the board. That feeling of getting it right, after all those tumbles and bruises, that's the real magic of a comeback, played out in your own life. It's the joy of proving to yourself, and maybe to anyone watching, that you can overcome. These stories give us something precious, hope. They show us that even when things seem completely impossible, change is always waiting. They remind us that everyone deserves a second chance, a fresh start. And often, our biggest failures aren't dead ends, but secret paths leading to our greatest triumphs. A comeback story whispers to our souls that no matter how lost or defeated we might feel, we can always find the path back to standing strong again. And that deep, simple truth is why these stories will forever move us. How fear of the unknown can stop progress. Have you ever felt a little scared to try something new, even if it promised something great? It's a common feeling. Sometimes, what we don't understand, what feels unfamiliar, can make us pause. It can even make us say no to things that could help us grow or make life better. This feeling, this quiet fear of the unknown, can sometimes put a real brake on progress, both for individuals and for the wider world. For a long time, humans have faced this. Think about the early days of flight. People laughed at the idea of humans soaring through the sky. It seemed impossible, against nature, and deeply terrifying to some. The unknown science, the sheer risk that fear made many resist the very idea of building planes. Or consider when doctors first suggested washing hands to stop sickness. Many resisted. They couldn't see germs, so the idea seemed strange, even foolish. The unknown world of microscopic life made them stick to their old, less healthy ways. This fear held back healing for countless people, keeping hospitals from becoming safer places for years. Here's the thing. Our brains often like what's familiar. It feels safe, predictable. New things mean uncertainty, and uncertainty can feel dangerous, even if it's just trying a new flavor of ice cream. It's like when you're presented with a new video game that has totally different rules and characters. Your first instinct might be to just stick with the game you already know and love, even if the new one could be way more fun and exciting. That first step of learning the new controls or understanding the story feels hard. The fear of not being good at it, or not understanding, can make you just walk away before you even start. But here's what I found. Great things often lie just beyond that fear. Every big invention, every new discovery, every step forward in history started with someone brave enough to face the unknown. They chose curiosity over comfort, and wonder over worry. It reminds us that progress isn't just about smart ideas. It's also about the quiet courage to open our minds to what we don't yet grasp. To step into the fog, not knowing what's there, but trusting that something brighter might be waiting on the other side. It's about the silent strength to reach for a future we can't quite see. The push and pull between individual and group. Have you ever felt that strange pull? Like you want to be completely yourself, unique, but also wish to belong, to be part of something bigger. It's a feeling as old as humanity. This dance between being yourself and being with others. From early times, groups stayed together to survive. They found safety, food, family in groups. But often, one person's new idea or courage helped the group adapt and grow. History shows how one person's vision changed things for many, usually with the group's help. It's a conversation through time. This isn't just about history. You feel it every day. Think of a school of fish, moving together as one giant shape. Each fish is still an individual. It can turn or dart off, then rejoin the others. Or, picking clothes for school. You want to wear what feels like you, but you also notice what friends wear, what's popular, wanting to feel connected, not alone. It's a daily act of balancing your style with your friends. Trends. Both parts matter. Being individual means your own thoughts, your own voice. Being part of a group gives support, shared experiences, connection. It's not about choosing one. It's about finding that sweet spot, that harmony, where your unique self strengthens the group, and the group helps you be your best self. It's a never-ending journey, this gentle sway between me and we. When people build walls, literally and figuratively, have you ever felt like you needed to put up a shield, a protective layer between you and the world? Sometimes, people build actual walls, solid and strong. Think of the great stone barriers that once circled ancient cities, meant to keep invaders out, or the fences that mark where one country ends and another begins. These are real structures, built from stone or brick, designed to protect homes and families, or to clearly mark a boundary. But here's the thing, walls can also be invisible, much harder to see. They can be built out of fear, out of misunderstanding, or even just a long-held habit of distrust. Think about it. Maybe you've seen it at school. Someone gets their feelings hurt, and suddenly, they stop talking. They build a wall around their heart, a silent barrier that keeps others from getting too close. It's not made of bricks, but it feels just as strong, doesn't it? And that's a figurative wall. All through human history, we see this pattern repeat, not just nations building border fences, but also groups of people separating themselves because they believe they're too different to truly understand each other. This can create a deep sense of us versus them, where compassion gets lost in the divide. Sometimes, these walls seem necessary. They can make us feel secure from pain or danger, like a turtle pulling its head into its shell when it feels threatened. That's a natural reaction, a way to cope with overwhelming feelings. But here's the quiet truth. While walls might protect us from outside hurts, they can also trap us inside. They can stop us from seeing the good in others, from learning new things, and from forming real, deep connections that make life richer. We miss out on shared smiles, on helping hands, and on stories that could change our minds and hearts. So, while a wall can offer security, it often costs us something precious too. It costs us closeness, understanding, and the chance to truly see each other, not just our differences. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is the safety always worth the isolation? It's a quiet question that history keeps asking us, again and again, through every wall we build. The history of trying to predict the future. Isn't it funny how much we want to know what's coming next? We all do it. Maybe you wonder what will be for dinner, or how a big test will go. This feeling, this deep need to peek around the corner of time, is as old as humanity itself. For thousands of years, people have tried to guess what the future held. They did it because they feared the unknown, but also because they hoped for good things. It's a quiet, constant human wish to know what lies ahead. Think about ancient cultures. They had oracles who spoke mysterious words, or wise men who read patterns in the stars. They watched birds fly, or even looked at the insides of animals, all hoping for a sign. And here's the thing, it wasn't just magic tricks. It came from a very human desire to feel safe, to feel ready. If you knew a drought was coming, you could store food. If an enemy was approaching, you could prepare. It was about trying to control a world that often felt unpredictable. Even today, we do it. We check weather apps to predict rain. We study for tests, trying to guess what questions the teacher might ask. It's like when you know your best friend really well. You can often tell if they'll laugh at a joke or be upset about something just by their mood, right? You're not truly seeing the future, but you're using past patterns and feelings to make a smart guess about what might happen next. This helps us feel more prepared for whatever comes. But here's what's interesting. Even with all our efforts, the future mostly stays a mystery. We can guess, we can prepare, but life always has surprises. And that's why it matters. The real power isn't in seeing tomorrow. It's in how trying to see it makes us think about today. It makes us pause, consider, and understand our own hopes and fears. It reminds us that maybe the journey of not knowing is what makes each moment so real and precious. And sometimes, that quiet wonder is a gift, teaching us to appreciate the present. Why some ideas just can't be stopped. Have you ever wondered why some thoughts, some ways of seeing the world, just seem to stick around forever? It's almost like they have a quiet power, a life of their own, that doesn't fade. Here's the thing. Truly strong ideas connect with something deep inside us. They feel true, or they feel right, in a way that's hard to ignore. They whisper to our shared human experience, resonating with what we all hope for, or what we know is fair. Think about the idea of human freedom, or the dream that every person deserves to be treated with dignity. People have been discussing these concepts for thousands of years, from early societies to brave individuals speaking up against injustice. These ideas keep coming back. They are passed down like precious heirlooms, from parent to child, across generations. Even when powerful people try to silence them, these core beliefs endure. It's because they touch on a basic human longing for a better, more just world for everyone. They aren't just words. They are powerful feelings and deeply held beliefs that echo through time. It's a bit like when you hear a powerful, memorable song for the first time. Maybe it speaks to something you've felt but never put into words. You can't unhear it. The melody, the message, it just grabs you, settles into your heart, and you find yourself humming it days later. That song, that idea, it found a home in your mind. And then you might share it. And it keeps going, touching others. So, when an idea aligns with our deepest, truest values, like kindness, compassion, or the absolute need for justice, it gains a silent, unstoppable force. It reminds us that even though the world keeps changing, some core human desires and truths remain constant. These lasting ideas aren't just about facts. They're about the shared heart of humanity, always pushing towards something better, something truly good. And that's a pretty amazing, even hopeful, thing to consider. How good intentions lead to unexpected problems. Have you ever tried to do something really good, only for it to somehow make things worse? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? Like when you meant well, when your heart was truly in the right place, but the outcome was just wrong. This happens more often than we think, not just in our own lives, but all throughout human history. People, with hearts full of hope and minds set on making things better, sometimes set in motion events that lead to very different, even sad, places. Think about a powerful river. It's meant to bring water to fields and communities. The intention is pure, to help life grow. But if the river's flow is miscalculated, or the channels break, that same water can suddenly flood towns and destroy crops. The initial good intention, meant for growth, turns into disaster. This idea isn't new. Ancient thinkers wondered why our best efforts sometimes backfire. They saw how even acts of kindness or grand plans for progress could, without enough foresight, cause real trouble. It's like setting out on a journey to a beautiful, peaceful place, but taking a shortcut that leads you instead to a confusing, difficult path. The goal was genuinely good, but the route chosen created problems. Imagine your friend sees you struggling with a big math project. They want to help, truly. So, without asking, they decide to fix a few tricky problems for you. Their heart is in the right place, wanting to ease your stress. But what happens? You don't learn how to solve those problems yourself. And maybe, because they changed something, your teacher thinks you cheated. Or the entire project gets messed up because their fix wasn't quite right for your specific work. Suddenly, their well-meaning intention created a bigger mess, and you both feel terrible. It teaches us a quiet, important truth. Every action has ripple effects. A good heart is crucial, yes, but understanding the possible consequences of our actions, even the kindest ones, is just as important. It's a reminder that the world is complex, and sometimes, even the brightest light can cast unexpected shadows. We learn to pause, to think deeply, not just about what we want to do, but what might actually happen. It's about recognizing that trying to help is wonderful, but wisdom helps us truly help well. The cycle of strict rules and then breaking free. Have you ever wondered why, after a time of many strict rules, people often feel a strong urge to break away? It's like a hidden rhythm in human history, a constant dance between the need for order and the deep desire for freedom. Here's the thing. Societies, just like people, sometimes create very tight structures. They believe these rules will keep everything safe and in place. Imagine a school with a list of rules for every single thing you do, from how you walk in the halls to how you sit in class. For a while, things might seem perfectly orderly, but here's what happens. Over time, that feeling of tightness can become a heavy weight. People start to feel cramped, their voices unheard, their choices limited. They long for more space to be themselves, to think and act freely. And that longing, that quiet ache for independence, builds up inside. Eventually, it leads to a powerful push, sometimes gentle, sometimes strong, to break free from those limits. You can see this throughout history. Like when entire nations finally said enough, two powerful kings wanting to govern themselves instead. Or even in smaller ways, when a community pushes back against a local law that feels truly unfair and stifling. It's a bit like a coiled spring, held down too long. When the pressure is released, it snaps back. When rules become too rigid, people will naturally try to find a way to release that tension. This doesn't always mean chaos or destruction. It often means searching for a better balance, a more thoughtful way to live together. Sometimes, in that breaking free, things can get a little messy, like a room after a big celebration. But then, new ideas often emerge, leading to new rules that are more flexible, more fair to everyone. So this cycle teaches us something really important. It shows that the human spirit needs both safety and space to thrive. We need clear boundaries to feel secure, but also room to grow and make our own choices. Understanding this helps us see that finding the right balance between rules and freedom is a continuous journey, not a final destination, always unfolding as we learn and grow. When old traditions meet new ways, have you ever thought about how hard it is to let go of something you've always known, even when something new and maybe better comes along? That feeling is at the heart of what happens when old traditions meet new ways. It's a quiet but powerful tension that has shaped human stories for thousands of years. Here's how it works. For a long time, people do things a certain way. They tell stories around a fire, or farm with specific tools, or celebrate holidays with customs passed down through generations. These traditions give comfort. They connect us to our ancestors and to each other. They feel right, but then an invention appears, or a new idea sparks, or the world simply changes around us. This new way promises something different, maybe more speed, more fairness, or more understanding. Think about it like an ancient river trying to carve a new path through solid rock. The water keeps moving, but the rock resists. Sometimes, the river finds a way around. Other times, it slowly wears the rock down. And sometimes, the river just changes course completely. History often shows us this struggle. Like when the first cameras came along, people had always relied on painters to capture a person's image. The old way was slow, expensive, and artistic. The new way was fast, cheap, and precise. It felt like magic, but also a little threatening to the artists who saw their craft changing forever. Here's the thing. This isn't just about big historical moments. It happens in your own life too. Maybe your grandparents have a special way of celebrating a holiday, but you and your friends want to try something new and different. Or maybe you're used to writing notes with a pen and paper, and now your teachers want you to type everything on a computer. It can feel a little uncomfortable, right? Like you're losing a piece of what you knew, even if the new way seems faster or easier. And that's why it matters. This constant meeting of old and new isn't a battle where one has to completely win. It's more like a dance. The old ways carry wisdom, memories, and a sense of belonging. The new ways bring fresh ideas, progress, and different ways to solve problems. History often shows us that the strongest societies, and even the happiest people, are those who learn to value both. They find ways to weave the best parts of the past into the exciting possibilities of the future. It's about understanding that change isn't always easy, but it's always part of being human, and finding beauty in that blend. The way leaders try to get everyone on their side. Have you ever wondered why some ideas catch on and others don't? Or why people choose to follow one person but not another? Here's the thing. Throughout history, leaders have needed people to believe in them, to stand with them. It's not just about power, but about hearts and minds. They try to get everyone on their side. They do this by telling stories, sharing a vision of a better future, or sometimes by appealing to our deepest hopes and fears. Think about ancient times. A king wasn't just powerful because he had an army. He also had to make his people feel like they were part of something bigger, like their work mattered for the kingdom's glory. Or a philosopher, like someone from ancient Greece, wouldn't just state facts. They'd build arguments that resonated, making people feel a truth in their words. It's about creating a shared sense of purpose, a feeling that we are all in this together. It's a bit like when you and your friends are deciding what to do on a Saturday. Someone suggests a plan, maybe going to the park or watching a movie. They don't just say, let's go to the park. They might say, imagine the sunshine, the fresh air, and us laughing on the swings. They paint a picture. They remind you of good times, making their idea sound like the best one for everyone. They appeal to shared fun, not just the action itself. That's a tiny version of how leaders work on a bigger stage, and that's why it matters. Understanding this helps us see the world more clearly. It makes us think about why we choose to follow, or why we believe certain messages. It reminds us that our hearts and minds are powerful. We get to decide whose vision we share, and what future we want to help build. It's a quiet strength, knowing you have a choice in who truly speaks for you. Why people fight over beliefs, again and again. Have you ever wondered why people get so stuck on their ideas, even when others see things totally differently? It's not just about being right or wrong. It goes much, much deeper. Our beliefs are like the roots of a tree. They hold up everything else. How we see the world, what we think is fair, what we think is important. So, when someone challenges a belief, it can feel like they're shaking our very foundation. It feels personal. History, in its long story, shows us this over and over. From ancient times to now, people have gone to war, ended friendships, and built huge walls between them, all because their core beliefs clashed. Think about ancient groups with different gods, or even just different ways of growing food. Their beliefs shaped their entire lives. When those ways of life felt threatened, fights often started. It's a pattern we see woven through human stories. Here's the thing. Our brains are actually wired to protect what we believe. Imagine you're watching a sports game. You cheer for your team, right? Even if the ref makes a call you don't like, you probably stick with your team, maybe even argue it was unfair. That's a simple version of protecting a belief, like your deep loyalty to a team. If someone tells you your team is terrible or your favorite player is bad, it can feel like an attack, even though it's just an opinion. It's because we've invested emotion into that belief. So, when deeply held beliefs are questioned, it's not just an argument of facts, it's an emotional reaction. It's a natural, human impulse to defend what gives our life meaning. But maybe, knowing this, we can try to understand not just what people believe, but why they believe it so strongly. Maybe then, instead of immediately fighting, we can find a way to listen. It might just be the quiet step towards a truly different, kinder path. How we learn to live with new diseases. Have you ever thought about what happens when something completely new, something we can't even see, changes the world around us? It's a scary thought, isn't it? When a new illness appears, it can feel like everything is thrown into confusion. There's fear, and sometimes a lot of sadness for those we lose. But history shows us something important about how we face these unseen challenges. For centuries, people have dealt with new sicknesses. The Black Death, the Spanish flu, these were huge, terrifying moments. In those times, like now, people felt lost. They didn't have all the answers. But here's the thing, humanity didn't give up. We started to understand. Doctors and scientists worked tirelessly, seeking knowledge, and everyone else. We found new ways to live. We learned new habits. We found different ways to care for each other, to keep our families safe, and to still find moments of hope and joy. It's like when you move to a new town or start a new school. At first, everything feels strange and maybe a little overwhelming. You don't know the hallways, the teachers, or how to make new friends. It's an unknown world. But slowly, day by day, you learn the routines. You find your way. You make connections. The newness doesn't feel so scary anymore. It just becomes part of your life. It's similar with new diseases. We adjust. We learn to carry our worries, yes, but we also learn to live alongside them. We find new ways to connect, new ways to protect, and new ways to heal. Not just our bodies, but our spirits too. This teaches us that even when the world feels broken, we, as people, always find a way to mend. We hold on to the quiet strength inside us, and we keep moving forward, together. The patterns of how we celebrate and mourn. Have you ever stopped to think about how we act when something truly amazing happens, or when something incredibly sad touches our lives? It's like humans have these quiet, unspoken rules for marking big feelings. We gather. We share. We create moments that stand apart from our everyday lives. Think about it. When we celebrate a victory, a birthday, or a new beginning, we often bring people together. There's usually music, maybe special food, shared laughter. We light candles, maybe sing songs. It's a way of saying, this matters. This joy is big enough to share with everyone. And when we face loss, when a heavy sadness settles in, we do something similar. We gather. We sit together. Perhaps quietly. We might light candles then, too, or share stories. It's a way of saying, this pain matters. This grief is too heavy to carry alone. This isn't new. It's a pattern as old as people themselves. Thousands of years ago, humans celebrated successful harvests with feasts and dances, just as they mourned lost loved ones with shared rituals and quiet ceremonies. Across different lands and times, people found comfort in these shared rhythms. It's like our hearts instinctively know that powerful emotions need a special outlet, a way to be seen and felt by others. Imagine a school hallway after a big game, whether your team won or lost. If they won, there's cheering, high fives, maybe a feeling of being a strong, united group. If they lost, there might be quiet talks, comforting shoulders, a shared understanding of disappointment. The feelings are opposite, but the need to be together, to share that emotional weight, is the same. It's like a human heartbeat, always there, but sometimes it races with joy, and sometimes it slows to a mournful rhythm. These patterns remind us that we are all deeply connected. Our lives might change, our world might look different from centuries past, but the simple, profound human need to mark our deepest joys and sorrows with each other, that never truly changes. It's a quiet promise that you are never alone in your biggest feelings. When things get so expensive, nobody can afford them. Asterisk, asterisk. When things get so expensive, nobody can afford them. Asterisk, asterisk. Have you ever really wanted something, only to see its price tag and feel your heart sink? Imagine that feeling, but for everything you need to live. For the food on the table, the clothes on your back, the roof over your head. It's a heavy thought, isn't it? When prices just keep climbing and climbing, like a never-ending staircase, until even the most basic things become distant, unreachable dreams. This kind of sadness can settle deep inside a community. Here's the thing. This isn't just a sad feeling for one person or one family. Sometimes, in history, entire societies have faced this. Picture a time when a simple loaf of bread might cost a whole wheelbarrow full of money. Sounds crazy, right? But it's happened. People would get paid, and they'd rush to spend their money immediately, because they knew by tomorrow it would buy even less. It's like watching your allowance disappear faster than you can even choose what to spend it on. This isn't just about things being pricey. It's about a feeling of basic trust breaking down. Trust in the value of your work, in the quiet promise that tomorrow will be manageable. Think about your favorite video game. Imagine if, suddenly, the company started charging 10 times more for it, and then 100 times more. Soon, no one could buy it. The game is still there, still made, but it's completely out of reach. That's a tiny echo of what happens when a whole economy struggles with prices gone wild. When money loses its real power, it's not just about numbers on a screen. It's about families struggling, dreams dimming, and a quiet panic setting in. It's a reminder of how fragile our world can be, and how much we depend on stable, fair value. It makes you pause and wonder about the true worth of effort, and the quiet dignity of simply being able to provide. The same old questions about fairness. What does fairness really mean? Has that question ever stopped you, making your stomach twist a little? It's not just a passing thought. It's a deep ache, a question that echoes through time. Every day, big or small, we measure things against this invisible line. Is it fair? Imagine people long, long ago. They still had to decide about hunting grounds or who spoke in councils. Someone always felt left out, or like another had an advantage. Think of the very first laws, like Hammurabi's code from ancient Babylon. It tried to make things fair, to set clear rules. But people still argued if those rules were truly fair. Some rules favored certain groups. Defining fair is incredibly hard. Wise thinkers, called philosophers, spend lifetimes on this. What makes a just society? What do people deserve? How do we share things so everyone feels respected? Consider a pickup basketball game at the park. Two captains pick teams. One might pick only friends, not always the best players, or the ball always goes to the star player, even when others are open. That's not fair. Feeling washes over you. You feel it deep down. It makes the game less fun, makes you question playing, or think about a teacher assigning roles for a class presentation. If one student always gets the easiest part, or never has to speak publicly, others will notice and wonder why. That moment of feeling overlooked, it sticks with you. This isn't just about winning or losing. It's about a human need for respect, knowing effort matters, and that rules apply equally. The arguments about fairness today in our homes, schools, countries, are the same ones people have had for thousands of years. Asking, is this fair, shows us something beautiful about humanity. It shows we care, we believe things could be better, more just. And here's the thing, the act of asking, of seeking that balance, is what slowly pushes the world toward being a little kinder, a little more balanced for everyone. Why we keep telling stories about monsters? Have you ever stopped to think why we keep telling stories about monsters? From ancient dragons to the creatures in today's movies, we just can't seem to get enough of them. It's not just because they're scary. It's something deeper, a part of what makes us human. Think about it. Long, long ago, people lived in a world full of dangers they couldn't understand. The darkness of night, wild animals, unknown sicknesses. These things were truly terrifying because they had no face, no name. So, humans started to give them faces. They created stories about monstrous beasts or evil spirits. These weren't real, of course, but the stories made the unknown feel a little less shapeless. It was like taking a giant, scary shadow and giving it outlines, so you could at least point at it and say, that's what scares me. Here's the thing, when you have a fear that you can't quite grasp, it feels huge and overwhelming. It's like a weird noise in your house when you're home alone. Is it just the wind, or something worse? But if you go investigate and find it's just a branch tapping the window, the fear shrinks. Monsters in stories work a bit like that. They give shape to our worries. Worries about loss, about bad people, about things we can't control. And that's why it matters. By telling these tales, we practice facing our fears in a safe way. We get to imagine battling the monster, or outsmarting it, all from the comfort of our couches. It's like a mental workout for bravery, a way to build strength without actually being in danger. It helps us feel ready, even just a little, for the real challenges life might throw at us. So, when we share stories of monsters, we're not just scaring ourselves, we're actually trying to understand the shadows within our world and within ourselves, giving them a form so we can stand a little taller against them, together. These stories connect us, to reminding us that no one is alone in their fears of the unknown. How new jobs replace old ones, then that repeats. Asterisk, asterisk, how new jobs replace old ones, then that repeats. Asterisk, asterisk, have you ever stopped to think about what people did for work 100 years ago? The jobs common then, many don't exist now. And the jobs we have today weren't even dreamed of. This isn't just modern, it's a pattern, a quiet rhythm of human history. As we invent new tools or find better ways, some old jobs slowly fade, not because they were bad, but because something more efficient or new emerged. When cars became popular, fewer buggy whip makers were needed. Those jobs, once important, became rare, but new jobs popped up. Car mechanics, road builders, gas station attendants, new ways to earn a living. This cycle happened often. Long ago, most people worked on farms. Then, big factories arrived. Farm jobs disappeared, but factory jobs grew. People moved to cities, learning new skills. It felt scary, losing old ways. But humans adapt. We find new purposes, new skills. It's like a constant river, always flowing and changing. Think about your smartphone. Not long ago, you used a landline to call, a separate camera for photos, a CD player for music. Now, one device does it all. So, jobs like repairing landlines or developing film became less common. But today, we have app developers, social media managers, and smartphone repair technicians. A clear trade-off, a quiet shift. It can feel a little sad to see old ways go. There's beauty in the past, but there's also quiet strength in how we always find new paths, new ways to contribute. The world keeps moving, and so do we. It reminds us that change isn't something to fear, but a constant journey, full of new chances. We learn, we grow, and we build the next thing. The search for a perfect way to govern. Imagine a world where everyone agrees on everything, all the time. Sounds nice, right? No arguments, just smooth sailing. But that's not how life works. People have different ideas, different needs, and different dreams. So, how do we live together? How do we make big decisions for a whole group, a town, or even a country? This is the core of governing. Finding a way for people to share power, make rules, and keep things fair. For thousands of years, humans have wrestled with this huge question. They've tried almost everything. Some societies had strong kings who made all the choices, believing they knew best for their people. Other times, wise elders guided communities. Then there were places, like ancient Greece, where citizens would gather and vote on laws directly. Empires rose and fell, led by emperors who ruled millions. Each system was an honest attempt to find the right way to organize society, to keep peace, and to help people thrive. But none lasted forever, and none were truly perfect. It's a bit like when you and your friends try to decide what movie to watch, or what game to play. One friend wants action, another wants comedy, and someone else just wants to chill. If one person always picked, it wouldn't feel fair after a while, right? But if everyone argues forever, you might never do anything fun. Finding a way to decide, a system that mostly works for everyone, is super tough. It takes listening, compromise, and a willingness to find common ground. This long human search for the perfect way to govern is really about our deepest desires. We want order, we want fairness, we want our voices to be heard, and we want to feel safe. But balancing all those powerful needs for every single person, that's the real challenge. It's a journey humanity is still on, a constant effort to build something better, to make sure everyone has a place and a say. And maybe, just maybe, the perfect way isn't one fixed answer, but the honest, continuous effort we keep putting in, together. When nature throws us a curveball again, have you ever looked at a calm, quiet sky, and then hours later, seen it turn wild, ready to pour rain or whip up a storm? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? Like the world suddenly remembers its incredible, unstoppable power. Here's the thing, nature has always done this. It has always thrown us curveballs, big, sudden changes that remind us who's truly in charge. Think about it. Long before our grandparents, people lived with floods, droughts, earthquakes, and massive fires. They built their homes, their villages, and their dreams, often near rivers that brought life, but also, sometimes, destruction. When the river swelled or the ground shook, they faced heartbreak. But then, they'd start again. They'd rebuild, often in the very same spots, carrying lessons and scars, but also hope. This cycle isn't new. It's written into humanity's story. It's like when you're building a cool sandcastle at the beach. You worked so hard, shaping the towers, digging the moat. Then, a big wave comes, just one wave, and sweeps it all away. You might feel a sting of sadness or frustration, but what do? You don't usually just pack up. No, You move a little further up the beach, or you start a new one, perhaps a little wiser about the tide. You understand the ocean is powerful, and you learn, and that's why it matters. This isn't about giving up, it's about remembering our place, small but strong, in a world that moves with its own ancient rhythms. It reminds us of our own courage, how we help each other, and how we find light, even when things feel completely overwhelming. After the biggest storm, the sun does eventually shine, and we have the chance to mend, to learn, and to grow, just as humans always have. The way people gather into tribes and groups, why do we always find ourselves drawn to others, forming groups, clubs, even just friend circles? It's a question that echoes through time, pointing to something deeply human. From the moment we're tiny, we look for connection, for a familiar face, a comforting hand. We want to belong, to feel seen and understood. This isn't just a casual choice we make. It's almost like a fundamental need, as essential as needing food or sleep. We gather because it makes us feel safe, stronger, and less alone in a big, sometimes confusing world. There's a quiet comfort in being part of something larger. Think back to our earliest ancestors, living in wild, untamed lands. Being alone was almost a death sentence. A single person was terribly vulnerable to danger, couldn't hunt big animals, or build shelter easily. But a group, a tribe, they could hunt together, protect each other from threats, share warmth by a fire, and pass down stories. This ancient need for survival, this powerful push to be part of a team, is still wired into us, deep in our bones. It shapes our friendships, the families we build, and even how we decide who to sit with at lunch. It's a part of our shared story. It's like when you join a sports team or a school club. Suddenly, you're not just one person. You're part of something bigger, a unit with a shared purpose. You wear the same colors, cheer for each other, maybe even have inside jokes that only your group understands. You celebrate the wins together, and you feel the sting of losses as a team. This shared experience creates a powerful bond, a feeling of belonging that truly satisfies something deep inside. It gives you a place, a role, a feeling of being wanted. This profound need to gather into groups is one of the most powerful forces in human history. It brings us comfort, a sense of identity, and immense strength. But here's the thing, while these groups give us so much, they also show us how important it is to remember that everyone, in every group, shares this same human longing to belong. Understanding this quiet, ancient truth can help us see past differences and appreciate our shared human journey, making us kinder, more understanding of each other. It's a connection that binds us all, across time and space. Why people always want more power. Have you ever thought about why humans, through all of history, keep reaching for more? Not just more stuff, but more power. It's a question that echoes across time. Here's the thing, wanting power often comes from a very human place, the desire for safety, for control, and the ability to shape your own world. It's about feeling secure. Think about ancient kings. They didn't just want fancy crowns. They often wanted to protect their people, ensure enough food, and keep their lands safe. Sometimes, they simply wanted to make their big ideas happen. This desire wasn't always about greed. Often, it came from a deep need to create order in a chaotic world, to ensure survival for many. That urge to guide things, to make important decisions, has always been a strong human force. It's a bit like when you're building a tower with blocks. You want it to stand tall, strong, and exactly how you imagined. You want control over each block, where it goes. If someone else keeps knocking it down or telling you what to do, you might feel frustrated. You want the power to finish your creation, to see your vision come to life. Think about a group project. Someone often steps up to organize, to make sure everyone does their part, wanting the project to succeed. They seek the power to guide it to a good outcome. So, this desire for power isn't just about being a boss. It's also a deep-seated human wish to feel capable, to make a difference, to protect what we value, and to feel like we have a say in our own journey. It's a part of what makes us strive, sometimes for good, sometimes in ways that cause trouble. But at its heart, it often begins with a quiet wish to secure our place in the world. How the past shapes our understanding of today. Have you ever stopped to wonder why things are the way they are right now? Why do we have certain rules at school, or celebrate certain holidays, or even think about things in a particular way? Here's the thing. Our present isn't just happening. It's built on a long, winding road that stretches back through time. Every single moment, every big event, every quiet choice made by people long ago, acts like an invisible hand. It molds our world and how we see it. Imagine you're walking in a dense forest. There are paths, right? You follow them without much thought, but those paths weren't always there. Someone, long ago, walked through the thick undergrowth, making a small trail. Then more people followed, slowly widening it. Today, you use that path, and it directs where you go, even if you never met the person who first blazed the trail. This is kind of like history. Old ideas, past struggles for fairness, or even huge scientific discoveries become the well-worn paths in our minds. They shape our laws, our customs, and even our common sense. Think about how we understand courage. For example, we don't just invent the idea. We learn it from stories of people who stood up against big odds, maybe in a war, or for what they believed was right. Like those who fought for civil rights. Their actions, their choices, they become part of our collective memory. So when you see someone being brave today, your mind connects it to those stories. You understand their action differently because of the echoes of the past. It's a quiet power, this influence of history. It teaches us empathy by showing us where others have struggled. It helps us see the bigger picture, not just what's right in front of us. And that's why it matters. By looking back, we gain a deeper wisdom, a gentle understanding of the world we live in now, and a thoughtful way to step into tomorrow. The cycles of hope and despair. Have you ever noticed how some days feel bright and full of possibility, like anything good could happen? And then, other days, everything feels heavy, like nothing will ever get better. This isn't just about your mood. It's a rhythm that beats through history itself, a constant back and forth between hope and despair. Here's the thing, human history isn't a straight line. It's more like waves, rising and falling, again and again. People imagine a better future, a fairer world, and this fuels incredible hope. They work together, they dream big, and sometimes they even change everything. Think about people fighting for freedom, for equal rights, for a cure to a terrible disease. Those moments are bursting with hope. But then, challenges come. Things don't always go as planned. Mistakes are made, trust can be broken, and the changes might not be perfect. When those high hopes crash, a deep sadness or frustration can set in. That's despair, the feeling that things are beyond repair, or that efforts were pointless. Ancient philosophers looked at this, seeing how empires rose and fell, how brave new ideas often led to new problems. They saw the pattern of humans reaching for something grand, stumbling, feeling lost, and then, surprisingly, finding a new spark to try again. It's like a scientist working on a big discovery. At first, they're full of exciting theories and possibilities. Hope. They spend countless hours experimenting, but many attempts fail. They might feel defeated, like giving up, despair. But then, a tiny clue appears, a new idea sparks, and that hope returns, stronger this time, leading them forward. Knowing this doesn't mean we should expect bad things, or that we should stop hoping. It simply means understanding that both hope and despair are natural parts of our journey, as individuals and as a whole world. And sometimes, it's in the quiet, reflective moments after despair that true, lasting changes begin to bloom. When people try to rewrite history, have you ever stopped to wonder why some stories about the past feel different depending on who tells them? It's like there's a real history, the actual events, and then there's another version, a polished one. This is what happens when people try to rewrite history. They don't just forget things, they actively change the narrative, tweak the facts, or even invent new ones. It's a powerful act, almost like deciding what truth is for everyone else. But here's the thing, why would someone do that? Often, it's about power. Leaders might want to erase past mistakes, glorify their own actions, or make an enemy look worse. They want to control how people see the world, not just in the past, but right now. And when the truth gets twisted, it means we lose out on important lessons. We can't learn from mistakes we pretend never happened. Think about a time you and your friends did something, maybe a school project that didn't go perfectly. Later, talking about it, one person might subtly change their part of the story. They might make themselves sound like the hero, or completely innocent, even if everyone remembers it differently. It's a small example, but it shows the human tendency to shape our own narrative, to make ourselves look better. On a grand scale, rewriting history is doing that for entire nations or eras. It's like painting over an old, faded picture, not to preserve it, but to put a brand new, often fake, image in its place. So, when we come across these rewritten histories, it's a quiet challenge. It asks us to look closer, to dig deeper, and to protect the true echoes of what really happened. Because if we lose the real story, we might just lose a piece of ourselves and our chance to build a better future. 2. The real past, in all its messiness, holds the truest lessons for us. The lessons we keep learning about kindness. Have you ever noticed how often stories from the past, even today's headlines, somehow bring us back to kindness? It's almost like a lesson we're always learning, over and over again. Kindness isn't just being polite. It's a quiet strength, a gentle way of seeing the world through someone else's eyes. It's about recognizing that everyone carries their own invisible struggles. Think about it. Thousands of years ago, great thinkers and spiritual leaders across different cultures shared similar ideas. Treat others how you wish to be treated. This isn't just a rule. It's an echo from our deepest human understanding. They knew, even then, that looking out for each other was how societies thrived, how people found peace. Here's a simple way to think about it. Imagine you're walking down a school hallway and you see someone drop all their books. Most people might just walk by, maybe feel a little awkward. But if you stop, even for a moment, and help them gather their things, something small but powerful happens. That person feels seen, they feel valued, and in that tiny moment, you've woven a thread of warmth into their day, into your own, and into the fabric of the community around you. It's like planting a tiny seed that grows into a big, strong tree of human connection. Why do we keep needing to learn this? Maybe because life is busy, and it's easy to forget the simple power of a kind word or a helping hand. History shows us that when kindness is forgotten, things fall apart. But when it's remembered, even in the smallest ways, it has the power to heal, to build, and to remind us of what truly matters. Choosing kindness isn't just a choice. It's a quiet act of hope, whispered across generations, still relevant today. Why young people always challenge old ways. Have you ever wondered why it feels like every new generation wants to do things differently? Why do teenagers, young adults, always seem to question the rules or traditions that have been around forever? Here's the thing, it's not about being difficult. Each generation grows up in a slightly different world. New technologies appear, new problems show up, and different ways of thinking become important. So, when young people look at old ways, they see them with fresh eyes. They notice what might not be working, or what could be better. This isn't a new idea. Throughout history, societies move forward because someone, often a younger voice, dares to say, what if we tried something else? Imagine when everyone believed the earth was flat. It took bold thinkers, often younger ones, to challenge that old idea and eventually prove the world was round. It felt scary then, but it pushed knowledge forward. It's how we grow and learn about the universe. Think about using a smartphone versus a laptop. For you, a smartphone is normal. It's how you communicate, learn, and explore. But for someone who grew up without them, it's totally different. You didn't invent the smartphone, but you naturally find new ways to use it, to adapt it. Sometimes, you even show older people new tricks. You question the old way of communicating because you see a better, faster, or more inclusive way. So, this challenging of old ways isn't disrespect. It's a sign of hope. It's how we keep moving, growing, and building a world that's a little bit better, a little bit fairer, for everyone. It's the constant, gentle push that keeps life from standing still, and that's why it matters. How big changes start with small ideas. Have you ever stopped to wonder where the biggest changes in the world really begin? It often feels like they just happen. These massive shifts in how we live or think. But here's the thing, history tells a different story. Every major moment, every turning point that reshaped societies or our understanding, it all began with something surprisingly small. It started as a whisper, a single question, a quiet thought in one person's mind. Think about a tiny seed. It doesn't look like much, just a speck. But inside that seed is the blueprint for a giant tree, a tree that can stand for centuries, giving shade, shelter, and oxygen. That's how human progress often works. Someone has an idea, perhaps a little different, a little daring. It might seem unimportant at first. Others might not even notice it. But that small idea, if cared for, if it connects with others, can grow. It can spread. It can take root. Here's an example. Imagine one tiny drop of water. It's harmless, but millions of those drops, over time, can carve out a canyon, like the Grand Canyon. Each drop alone seems powerless, but together, over ages, they become an unstoppable force. It's the same with our thoughts and actions. one person deciding to be kinder, one group speaking up for what's right. These aren't huge, dramatic gestures, but they are the tiny, steady drops that wear away old ways and shape new paths. It's a beautiful and sometimes powerful thought. Our small actions today, our quiet questions, our gentle kindnesses, they are the seeds. They are the water drops. They hold the power to become something vast and lasting. What small idea might you carry? What tiny seed are you planting today? It could be the beginning of something truly incredible, echoing through time. The endless loop of human choices. Have you ever wondered why some problems come back again and again, like a story you've heard? It's almost like people keep choosing the same paths, even when those paths led to trouble last time. This isn't just a coincidence. This is the endless loop of human choices, shaping our world. Think about it. Every day, you make choices. What to wear, what to eat, how to react to These small decisions build up. On a bigger scale, people throughout history faced similar moments. They chose greed or generosity. They picked war over peace, or working together. Often, their choices came from feelings and fears we still know today. Ancient thinkers, like Greek philosophers, noticed this pattern long ago. They saw societies rise and fall, not always from new inventions, but because of human nature. Leaders decided from pride or fear. Ordinary people followed, by hope or despair. These emotions still guide us. Thousands of years later, here's the thing. Think about trying to save money for something big. You decide to spend a little today, thinking you'll save more tomorrow. But tomorrow comes, and you make that same choice again. That small choice creates a pattern. History is like that, just bigger. People choose short-term comfort over the planet's long-term health, even when history showed it went wrong. Later, others face similar choices. It's not about being trapped. It's about recognizing these loops. It means we can see the echoes, understand old stories, and maybe choose a different path next time. Knowing this gives us a quiet power, a chance to bend the loop to something better.